and Phoenix. So we will see the return of the onshore push on the west coast. Here's an area of low pressure, minimal precipitation associated with it. Bottom line is one more day, some thunderstorm activity around the Denver area. You had some softball size hail. But meanwhile, take a look at the temperature span. We're going up and then down in the Bay Area. It's like a roller coaster, staying consistent in Los Angeles, and the heat continues to cross the desert. Alex?
All right, Roberta, thank you. Still ahead here on West Coast Wrap tonight, security preparations ramping up ahead of the World Cup, with the tournament now just days away.
This is a 24-hour operation for nearly a month, so this is a huge lift for the police department. It's not one that we can do with just the on-duty officers. We need to have officers on overtime. We need to bring more staff into this event than we would generally have on duty.
A total of 6 matches will be played in Santa Clara from June 13th through July 1st. And that is the sound of another section of Hawaii's largest outdoor arena crashing down today. This is the latest round of demolition as crews are making way for the new Aloha Stadium Entertainment District in Honolulu. This will be home to the University of Hawaii. The goal is for that stadium to be ready for the 2029 football season for the university. A mixed-use district will be developed around the new arena. Groundbreaking on that new stadium is expected to happen next year. A cruise ship passenger who was exposed to hantavirus on the MV Hondius ship now is back home and under quarantine in Oregon. The Oregon Health Authority says the patient arrived yesterday from a quarantine facility in Nebraska. The patient, who has not been identified for privacy reasons, will remain in quarantine until June 21st. The Oregon Health Authority says the risk of hantavirus to people across the state is still extremely low, and there are no concerns about transmission to the general public. And finally, tonight, the city of Seattle is kicking off Seafair for the summer of 2026. Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman has a closer look tonight at the festivities for the annual Boating and Air Show.
Do you hear that? Temperatures are starting to warm up.
Nothing says it's the beginning of summer in Seattle like the beginning of Seafair.
The roar of the hydroplanes and the thunder of the Blue Angels is right around the corner. For 77 years, Seafair has been part of the foundation for the entire region, bringing people together, celebrating and uniting culture and unique community events that are now traditions.
I, KTVU Wilson, Mayor of Seattle, do hereby proclaim June 1st, 2026 to be Seattle Seafair Summer Kickoff Day.
We even have new royalty, including former Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Sidney Rice.
I hereby declare you King Neptune of Seafair.
Leading a community favorite, the Alaska Airline Dancers.
It's just a joy to see the smile on kids' faces, to be a part of the parade. It's really nostalgic.
The hydroplanes are on display. Jimmy Shane is coming out of retirement to race again, and Fleet Week is moving up 1 week prior to Seafair Festival.
Which is great because people can experience both.
We're looking forward to seeing you on Clown Arrival.
It's a blast. You can't imagine how much fun it is to be out there with everybody and having a good time, making everybody smile.
And that was Fox 13's
primary election night in California. With 1 hour to go until polls close, voters are making their final decisions on who they want to see advance to the November election.
There's so many issues, I couldn't really just pick one.
After 8 years of Governor Newsom, voters now making their voices heard on who they want next to lead the Golden State.
For me, it was looking at all the candidates, figuring out which direction I want to go.
Also on the ballot, a closely watched mayoral race in Los Angeles.
I guess it's any man's or woman's chance.
And people are casting votes for who they want to send to Washington after Prop 50 shook up California's congressional maps.
We live in a democracy, so it's important to vote, right?
This is Fox Local, Election Night Live.
It is 7 o'clock, and voters across California have just 1 more hour to cast their ballots at polling places or drop off their mail-in ballots. This is a live look right now at one of the many polling places that will be open until 8 o'clock. Welcome to our election night coverage here on Fox Local. I'm Claudine Wong at the KTVU studios in Jack London Square in Oakland.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Meeback. We want to welcome our viewers in Southern California who are joining us right now on Fox 11 in Los Angeles. We are broadcasting live all night on the Fox Local app, and we do have live coverage for you all across the Golden State. Reporters, they are at watch parties for the leading candidates for governor. Also live coverage out of Sacramento on the balance of power. Plus, the seat to succeed former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. That one is up in the air. We're live tonight in San Francisco, and the seat vacated by former congressman and former gubernatorial candidate Eric Swalwell. That one also up for grabs. Also, how are Californians actually feeling tonight? We do have reporters talking to voters at polling places, both in Los Angeles and in the Bay Area.
We're also covering many local races that have statewide interest, including the L.A. mayor's race. We have reporters at each of the watch parties for the 3 leading candidates. We're also covering the L.A. County Sheriff's race, races in Orange County, and in the Bay Area. We're keeping an eye on 2 closely watched supervisor races in San Francisco and the Alameda County District Attorney's race.
All right, let's get right to KTVU political reporter Greg Lee here in studio. Greg, not a lot of star power when it comes to the governor's race, but definitely a lot of twists and turns here.
Yeah, an incredibly unsettled race that is now all in voters' hands. 6 televised debates, countless campaign ads, and 61 candidates on your ballots. We are finally here. Voters will finally decide which 2 candidates will move on to November's general election. Recent polling in the final week of this election showing just how drastically this race has changed in just a matter of months. What was a sleepy race that very few people were paying attention to saw a massive shift after Eric Swalwell dropped on April 12th due to those sexual assault allegations. Javier Becerra went from 5% to the outright favorite in the polls, and now Republicans Steve Hilton and Tom Steyer are locked in that battle for second. It is very much anyone's guess what 2 will move on, and a word of caution to viewers, it will take some time to count all these ballots, especially because so many ballots are expected to be returned today.
Traditionally, you're thinking about the candidate you like the most or policies, but we've added another thing to the decision matrix for voters this year, and that is that Democrats have been told repeatedly that because of the state's top 2 system, we could have this fluky thing happen where the 2 leading Republicans inhabit both those top 2 spots. And that would mean no Democrat goes to the November election. Republicans have also been hearing the same thing could happen to them, that you could have 2 Democrats take the top 2 spots. And as a result, both parties have voters who are thinking about viability, voting for a winner as kind of a part of their decision-making process. And it's been really driving a lot of the narrative, especially here in the last week.
Now, turnout coming into today, about 20%. We expect that number to reach well into the 30s. There will be a lot of ballots to count after tonight. Mike Clay.
Hey, Greg, people holding on to those ballots a lot later this primary. Which candidate do you think out there should be a little bit more nervous tonight because of that?
Yeah, I think Steve Hilton has a lot to lose in that space because, Mike, a lot of Democrats have been holding on to their ballots because they're wanting to see who was in the lead, who was viable. Anecdotally spoken to a lot of voters who said, my candidate didn't seem to be at the top of that polling, so I'm waiting to see who is at the top of the list. And if many of those Democrats do hold on, and we expect those shifts, especially with the registration edge in California, that could potentially push out Steve Hilton out of this top 2.
All right, and we got to be patient. We're thinking maybe days, Maybe into next week?
Yeah, we're talking days, potentially weeks, Claudine. California notoriously slow when it comes to counting those ballots because of the policies and procedures it does follow. And we should also tell viewers that that first batch that we expect after polls close at 8 p.m., that typically is going to be as votes are brought in. And a lot of those votes will skew Republican because they came out early and often and actually outpaced Democrats early on in this process.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that coming up. All right. Thanks, Greg. And Javier Becerra has been campaigning for last-minute votes today. His campaign set to hold a watch party tonight in Los Angeles.
And that is where we find Fox 11's Laura Diaz, who is live tonight in downtown L.A., not far from Union Station. Laura, good evening.
Hi, Mike and Claudine. Yes, we are in downtown Los Angeles, and actually we're not far from Olvera Street, and a lot of folks are starting to gather now. We expect candidate Becerra to show up here sometime after the polls close, probably not before 9 o'clock. So basically it's media here right now and members of his staff. They were tuning up the music a little bit ago, but everyone kind of feeling upbeat this evening. We also spoke to people, just random people, about how they felt about the governor's race, and here's what they told us. You think California's been going the wrong direction and you want somebody to take charge of it?
Well, people say things, but then they don't do it, So I just want somebody that's going to stand up for, the people and really, do something that they're saying.
Who I voted for governor?
Yeah.
I want to keep California blue. That's what I want to do.
You're not going to say which one?
I'm not going to say which one because I don't really feel like... I feel like we're backed into a corner in who we choose.
So you don't love any of the options?
Not really.
Javier Becerra has been in elected office for 3 decades. The Sacramento native served as state attorney general, moved on to the state assembly, and of course 12 terms in Congress. Most recently part of President Biden's cabinet, where he served as health secretary. But now Mr. Becerra finds himself in a hotly contested race for California governor, vowing to succeed Gavin Newsom, who has been termed out. Now the most recent poll shows 3 front runners. They include Republican commentator Steve Hilton, who President Trump endorsed, and fellow Democrat and environmentalist activist Tom Steyer. Steyer, of course, a billionaire, has invested some $213 million of his own money to the campaign. But it wasn't until April when frontrunner Eric Swalwell resigned from Congress and suspended his campaign after allegations of sexual misconduct in Congress. Almost overnight, Becerra rose in the polls. So that brings us back to tonight, where we are saying that they're getting ready for this watch party. So far, no sign of the candidate, but we are told that he'll be here with his family, with his wife, 3 daughters, and a son-in-law. But it's really kind of a wait and see right now. We know that dessert will be happening very soon. Mexican treats off to the right. And we also have some food trucks. That's the latest here from downtown Los Angeles. I'm Laura Diaz reporting live, sending it back to the studio.
Laura, do we think there's going to be any kind of delay in when Becerra might speak tonight? Certainly, there's been so much discussion about how long it will take for the results to be counted, and so that there won't be any kind of big reveal tonight about final results, that he might just take some time to talk earlier than later.
Well, I asked the soonest they thought he would be here, and I suggested 9 o'clock. They said if he got here by 9, they'd be a little surprised. So I don't know. It could be more toward 10 o'clock, but he's definitely going to be here with his family. And hopefully, there'll be some music then. They were tuning up just a little while ago, but right now we're all just basically standing around waiting for him to show up. There are members of his staff here, but it's really kind of a wait and see.
Hey, Laura, we could have a historic moment later this year. Becerra could become the first Latino governor here in California. Has he been driving that home out there on the campaign trail?
Yes, it's such a part of who he is. He is, of course, the son of working class Mexican Americans. He was the first in his family to graduate college and went on to some of the finest universities that we have in this country. So yes, I think it's just so much in his DNA, literally. Of course, a huge Latino base here. In fact, where we are standing, this is the Plaza de Cultura y Artes, which really is kind of a punctuation point, if if you will, for all things Latin here in Southern California. I've been here so many times for events. People show up to celebrate the Latino culture, and I'm sure that he chose this by design. I could throw a stone to Olvera Street. This is where it all began here in Southern California, but specifically for Latinos who helped build this city, which is overwhelmingly Latino.
I got to ask you one more question, Laura. I mean, certainly for the staffers, because he's enjoyed this place in the polls where he has watched himself rise, is there a calm as they're going into this, and certainly enjoying, of all the candidates, a place where they can feel at least some confidence or some level of confidence tonight?
Well, I haven't had a chance to talk at length, but, you know, I'm sure you as I have covered campaigns where it didn't go well. You can feel the tension in the air, and in fact, usually you can see it in people's eyes. Even before the final tally, they know there's sort of dead man or dead woman walking. I'm not getting that sense here. There's a little bit of, you know, a little sway in the room, if you will. I think that people are feeling there could be an upbeat outcome. They're not saying that out loud, but they're feeling pretty good about where they are.
Got it. Laura Diaz with the very latest from Becerra Camp there, downtown Los Angeles. Laura, we appreciate the reporting. Let's take you live right now to Huntington Beach, where Steve Hilton is holding a watch party and speaking right now. We're going to be monitoring it. I believe we have the shot. All right, we don't have the shot right now.
I think he just finished his speech, but we actually want to go to Rachel Aragon because Steve Hilton just actually finished speaking. What did he have to say, Rachel? Because certainly a little early in the night, we were just talking about Javier Becerra hasn't even arrived at his watch party, and Steve Hilton already making some comments tonight.
Absolutely. He just stepped on the podium, as you just saw right now. And by the way, this is the second time we've heard from him tonight. Earlier on 4 o'clock, he also spoke to the media. Of course, he was asked a ton about the recent polling, some that show him tied with Steyer and some that show him behind Steyer. His response to the polling and how tight it is, he says the polls that he's really focused on, you guys, is that poll recently that came out from the California Post showing that 56% of Californians are dissatisfied with the direction California is going. And he's pitching himself to voters right now and the last few months as the change California needs. He also talked about bringing back that California dream, and he really has been zeroing in throughout the last several months and even today in Huntington Beach about making California affordable. He talked about bringing down gas prices and really bringing a state that is friendly to small businesses. But again, when it comes to polling, his biggest thing was showing just how dissatisfied that a lot of Californians are right now with the direction it's going.
Hey, Rachel, did he speak at all in regards to Chad Bianco? You know, there was a lot of talk about Democrats criticizing Democrats not dropping out of the race. And in the last couple of weeks, Mr. Hilton's been doing the same to his Republican opponent here in this race. Did that come up at all tonight?
Well, earlier, actually, he spoke about that several hours ago. He said it's nothing personal against Chad Bianco, but he's encouraging supporters of Bianco to join his campaign, to join his support, because ultimately, he says the top 2 vote getters will go to November, and he believes he's the best shot to be that GOP nominee come November. So he's been encouraging the Bianco supporters and fans to really join him because he believes, again, that the only way California can see change is to have a governor who's a Republican in office, which, again, by the way, we haven't seen for 16 years, and it's been 20 years since California has elected a governor who's Republican.
It's interesting you mentioned this twice already today that he's spoken, and your comments seem to imply that he is still campaigning very hard, even with 45 minutes left before these polls close. How do you expect the rest of the night to play out tonight at this watch party?
You know, it's interesting. He actually was addressing just that earlier. He says they're pretending or really living out like they're in third place because they're not taking anything for granted. They don't want to assume they're coming in second or first. They are working, they said, up until the last minute to try to appeal to voters and send out that message again. His main thing is making California affordable, but they are running a campaign, they said, in third place to really work themselves and show that they want to earn every single vote.
All right, Rachel Aragon with the very latest out of Huntington Beach tonight. Rachel, appreciate it. Joining us here in studio for some more insight on the gubernatorial race, we do have KTVU political analyst Brian Sobel, as well as Melissa Michelson, the Dean of Arts and Sciences and Professor of Political Science at Menlo College. I'll begin with you, Professor. At the end of the day, maybe not tonight, it could be later this week, do you foresee 2 Democrats in November on that ballot, or do we see a Steve Hilton joining one of them as well?
Well, if I knew the answer to that, I'd be making a lot of money. I think it's 2 of those 3 people, right? And as folks are making those last-minute decisions, it really could tip the balance either way, that it could be 2 Democrats or Democrat versus Republican. But it's been so close, and there are a variety of polls showing different people in first, second, third place. So as voters are making these last-minute decisions, and as we know, polls they have a margin of error.
Right.
Who knows? Who knows? And Brian, it's interesting to see how these candidates are reacting tonight. You know, you've got Steve Hilton still really making some stump speeches at his own watch party, and then you got Javier Becerra who said, you know, I'll be there. Later on, I'll be there. But certainly it does reflect, I think, how maybe these campaigns are feeling.
Well, I think every candidate approaches this a little bit differently. For Javier Becerra, when he was able to gain most of the Swalwell supporters, he knew he was in a much better place than he was before that. For Steve Hilton, Steve Hilton has to peel off a whole lot of these Republicans who came out supporting Chad Bianco. If he does that, he's going to finish second because those people will move over to Hilton, and party registration in California is everything. Republicans have enough to finish second or third, not first. And so that's where I think at the end of the night, we're going to see Javier Becerra end up in the first position, Hilton and Steyer in second and third. But I've talked about this a lot. You know, I think in the post-analysis, the post-election analysis, we will see whether $200 million or more of ads from one candidate either got the job done or turned people off.
Let me ask you this. You said, you know, Becerra expected to be one of the 2. If that's the case, does his campaign have a problem? Because just a few months ago, he wasn't even on the stage at the debate at USC, which never actually happened because he was polling so low. And you mentioned the Swalwell dropout. I understand that. But why wasn't he gaining traction with voters before Swalwell even dropped out?
Well, as somebody mentioned in the last hour, maybe it was Greg Lee, there hasn't been a big name in this race. And so there were a lot of folks who, they've been around, right? Becerra's been around for decades, but he's not very well known the same way, say, Kamala Harris is, or even Alex Padilla. And so as all of those people were trying to get their name out, Steyer was able to jump in with all that spending and get some name recognition. But a lot of folks were in very low numbers because there wasn't a superstar in the race. It was only once the campaign started getting going, and then there was some momentum behind it.
I'd add one thing to that because Melissa's right. But one of the things that Becerra enjoyed, if you want to call it that, is that his unfavorables were very low. So when he really emerged, a lot of people were, I don't really know the guy very much, but I don't dislike him. He's just there. And whereas a lot of polling that I've looked at over time, Steyer, either you like him or you don't dislike him. Same with Katie Porter, like her, dislike her. That's
kind of neutral.
Becerra kind of running in on the inside.
Newcomers.
It's hard to change. It's hard to change somebody's attitude from negative to positive versus from nothing to positive.
Nothing to neutral. All right, well, lots more to talk about as this progresses, and certainly a long night ahead. All right, Brian Wilson, thank you.
All right, we'll check in with you in just a little bit. Polls are still open for about another 42 minutes or so. When we come back, we are going to check in at a polling place in the San Francisco Bay Area, plus a look at the closely watched mayor's race in Los Angeles.
You're watching Fox Local Election Night coverage. We're going to be right back.
All right, welcome back to our Fox Local coverage of primary election night right here in California. We are broadcasting until 11:30 this evening on the Fox Local app.
Polls closed statewide at 8 o'clock. Many polling places are busy today with those last-minute voters and then people dropping off their mail-in ballots at the 11th hour.
All right, let's check in with KTVU's Christina Rendon live tonight in the city of Martinez. Christina, busy day, slow day there?
Oh, very busy day, Mike. Good evening to you and Claudine. This is the epicenter, the registrar of voters here in Contra Costa County. Right behind me, this is where people are doing their in-person voting if they wanted to come in at the very last second. Busier, though, outside. So follow me here. What you can see here is this official ballot drop box right outside. All afternoon, people have been coming by, walking up and dropping off their ballot, or cars driving in, getting out, the drivers dropping off their ballot and continuing on. In fact, when we arrived here around 3:45 this afternoon, it was extremely packed. I couldn't even find a place to park my car inside this lot, and that has been the case throughout the day. A lot of people coming in and dropping off their ballot, and right now they're getting ready to have an influx of all of those other ballots coming from the polling places once the polls close in 45 minutes. I'm going to bring in Kristen B. Connolly, County Clerk Recorder and Registrar of Voters. Thank you so much, because I know you're very busy.
Yeah, no.
This is like your Super Bowl.
It is, but always happy to talk about it.
What has it been like today?
It's been really inspiring to see the number of voters that are coming in. I mean, we always try to get people to vote early, but they can vote until 8 o'clock on Election Day. So my big message is it's not too late. Please make your voice heard, right? Your vote is your voice.
Right. Okay, so over the weekend, there was an influx of votes coming in, I understand.
Yeah.
Friday, about 35% turnout of voters. And then where are we at now?
Yeah, well, and just so that the public understands, what happens is that we make a plan for what the turnout ultimately we think it will be. And we know how many ballots are going to come in based on previous experience, both through the drop boxes and in the Postal Service. So we were on track for about 34% turnout until we did get this influx. And so, right, there's been a lot of talk about people holding onto their ballots. That seems to be the case. So it was really exciting from our perspective to have really heavy bins full of drop box ballots dropped off during the weekend. And we went ahead and added capacity for Dropbox, another set of Dropbox drivers to pick up at our 46 drop-off locations across Contra Costa.
Amazing. So you think you'll hit maybe 45%?
Yeah, no, I mean, if this continued throughout the day and we see some good turnout at our in-person voting across our 147 polling places, it's possible we get to 45. I'm confident we'll eclipse 40, but time will tell. And we don't quite know yet how many ballots will be coming in, but we are pretty inspired by what we've seen.
Perfect. Okay, Kristen, thank you so much. I'll let you go in. I know you're very busy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And before we let you go, guys, just so you know, there are some big green flags right around this entire parking lot. That is a signal for all of the drivers who are coming in to bring in those ballots that this is the location where those ballots will be processed. Around the corner, there's an operations center. Upstairs, there's a tallying site where those machines are tallying all of those ballots. So a lot of busy activity here at the Contra Costa County Registrar of Voters in Martinez. Mike, Claudine.
All right, Christina, busy is good. Great to see the turnout. Thanks so much.
All right, aside from the governor's race, one race that has been attracting attention all across California and nationwide is the race for mayor of Los Angeles.
Incumbent Mayor Karen Bass is seeking re-election. Her main challenges are expected to be Spencer Pratt, a former reality TV star, and LA City Council member Nithya Raman, who withdrew her endorsement of Bass to seek her own campaign for mayor. For more on this race, we're joined by Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf, who is live in Los Angeles. It's been an interesting race to watch, and certainly this watch party has been interesting to watch as well. I think there's been a lot of twists and turns just in this watch party.
Yes, we're at the Spencer Pratt watch party. It's a private event, so we're outside on the sidewalk right now, and you can see all the media out here. I'd say 15, 20 news outlets, some of them local, some of them national. And right this second, we're actually waiting. We're expecting Spencer Pratt to arrive any moment here, so bear with us if he does show up, as we're going to be kind of in the middle of all this media. But you're talking about this race. This is a very close, intense race. Essentially, three candidates that are, at the most part, you could say tied. I believe this might be the mayoral candidate there, possibly. You can see that we're all just kind of waiting because we're not exactly sure if there's going to be any moment to get any interview with him tonight. So this could be our only opportunity right outside the restaurant. It's possible he's looking for another entrance. I'm not exactly sure. There's a few cars out here. Bear with us. Oh, there he is. is, oh, that's not him. That's not him. But you can see this is live right now, so just kind of get the sense of everything that's going on out here with all the media. Again, this race, anyone could win, but those three candidates, Nithya Raman, Mayor Bass, Spencer Pratt joining the race after he lost his home to the Palisades fire. And then we were actually at his launch party at this same venue about 4 or 5 months ago, and there were 2 cameras here, so compare that to what we're seeing tonight with about 20.
Hey,
so,
Matthew,
I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Did the campaign explain why so secret tonight?
Well, it is a private event. That's really all they're saying. They're describing it as an intimate gathering. We actually spoke with Spencer Pratt's mom here just a little while ago, and she's feeling pretty confident going into tonight. But it's a really small venue. This is where his launch party was. Right. We were in there earlier before they had all the media go out, and it's very, very tight quarters in there.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue to monitor that as you wait for his arrival that may or may not come, but certainly it looks like a very busy
I mean,
time
usually
out
you
there.
have the biggest room in town.
Usually you do. Yep.
In this case, not so much. We'll wait for that election result later tonight. All right, we do have some analysis from Southern California, though, on this race. Joining us from the Fox 11 studios in West L.A., Chaya Crowder, a political science professor and Loyola Marymount University professor and political strategist, Luis Alvarado. Luis, I'll start with you. I mean, both Pratt and Raman campaign that L.A. is at a breaking point. Do you see the current mayor in the top 2 at the end of the day here?
Yes, the current mayor will be in the top 2. What we're also seeing is that a lot of the turn-in, like we just saw the register of voter talk about, is that the models have been thrown out the window because everybody was holding on to their ballot. And as a matter of fact, there's a great expectation that when the first results are turned in, it looks like Pratt's going to be leading because the Republicans are the ones who are turning in their ballots first.
Yeah, although that may, as we wait for the days to come in, and certainly it'll change. Chaya Crowder, I want to ask, what do you think has been driving really the twists and turns of this mayor's race? Certainly there's a lot of emotion out of the Palisades and Eaton fire. There's a lot of really hotly contested issues with immigration and homelessness. What do you think has driven so many twists and turns?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's been a lot that's been happening in Los Angeles, and we know that there are a number of wedge issues that the Republican Party tends to use. Immigration is certainly one, and also the sort of reactions around the fires. At the same time, you know, Mayor Bass has an established record of success. And, you know, we certainly saw her strong opposition to the ICE raids that took place in June. So there was leadership there. On the other hand, immigration has certainly been a wedge issue that we've seen come up time and time again on the right.
You know, the mayor of San Francisco, no political experience. He was voted in. Is that an issue in Los Angeles when it comes to this specific race, that Spencer Pratt has no political experience, Luis?
Well, you know, when we had Richard Riordan, who got elected mayor of Los Angeles, you know, at least he was CEO of a large corporation and had thousands of people that worked for him. But there's a great difference. Just because you don't have experience doesn't mean you can't lead. Right. We know with Pratt, there's serious questions to be raised with regards. Do the people just want to vote for him because they want to send the bull into the china shop and want to see things blown up so they can be reconstructed? You know, we already saw how that's working out in other elected positions, and I think you know, that's what we're looking at, is people who really take the election serious and want leadership. You know, we have some people with you know, the extreme progressives who feel that Mayor Bass has not been true to her oath in making things happen and fixing the problems such as there is the homelessness in downtown LA. And that's why the 3 candidates are actually doing very well.
Yeah, and certainly as we head into the next phase of this, certainly we'll see that conversation continue. We are out of time, have to leave it there for now, but certainly this conversation continues as certainly we head towards November. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate this conversation.
All right, polls close at the top of the hour. Still to come, we're also taking a look at some of the more notable congressional races in the state, plus how Proposition 50 will be playing a role. Stay with us. We're back after the break.
Welcome back. You're watching California primary election night coverage on Fox Local. I'm Claudine Wong at the KTVU studios in Oakland.
And I'm Mike Meeback. We are using the combined resources of KTVU in the Bay Area and Fox 11 to give you a comprehensive look at the races with the most at stake tonight.
KTVU political reporter Greg Lee joins us again now. And Greg, polls close in half an hour. But if people are hoping to really understand what happens, especially with the governor's race tonight, they're going to be waiting a little longer, I think, because we've got the mail-in ballots, but we also have a lot of voters who held on to their ballots. So voting and counting will take time.
And the first part of this is California has been notorious for counting their ballots slow. That is long recorded. There's long history. It's been a long point of contention and a point of criticism from Republicans and President Trump, alleging voter fraud because the count takes longer. But the state has meticulous processes, in addition to the fact that they mailed 23 million ballots to registered voters in the state. So that's going to take time. That is number one. Number two is the fact that, as you pointed out, a lot of Democrats were not sure who they were going to vote for in this race. So they held on to those ballots until yesterday, until today, probably in the final half an hour here. And because those are coming in, those are going to take time to verify signatures, to go through them and point to who they voted for as they make those tallies. So could be days, could be weeks until we know exactly who this top two is.
So coming off of that, do you think there is more strategic voting among Democrats out there in this primary? I'm not going to choose the candidate I want. I'm going to be thinking about the larger picture here.
100%. I think that was a real concern for voters because there was no clear favorite initially for Democrats. They were wanting to see where the waters were sort of
especially the late voters here.
They were thinking about viability, right? Yeah. I can vote for somebody, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get to the top two. So there was some strategic planning by voters there, and maybe not even strategy, just not being sure what they wanted. One last point I'll make for our Los Angeles voters: 30% of the total vote count came yesterday in LA County, and that is the case we're seeing in a lot of blue
also
counties.
Be cautious on how you look at the first results that come in.
That's
because
right.
Certainly some people voted, Republicans definitely voted earlier than Democrats, so those results may be shifting as they come in as
Votes are counted in the order that they came in, so we will certainly see shifts.
All right, Greg Lee,
appreciate it. Thank you. Well, a lot of close eyes on a lot of races across the Golden State. We've already checked in with our reporters at watch parties for Javier Becerra as well as Steve Hilton. Let's now check in with KTVU's Zach Sauce, live in San Francisco at a watch party for Tom Steyer. Zach?
And a whole lot of interest for this watch party by the national and local media. Part of the reason you're looking at a very crowded podium here at the Regency Ballroom here in San Francisco. A lot of people interested to see whether the money spent on ads by the Steyer campaign will pay off tonight. He spent some $200 million on those ads during this campaign so far. That, of course, far more than any other candidate in this race. In fact, far more than any candidate in any race in the U.S. so far. He has received some criticism from his opponents for that. Some arguing that he essentially would be buying his seat as the governor. His response has been that they have been, in turn, fighting his campaign. Corporate interests have been pushing back on his campaign with their own money. So it'll be very interesting to see how these votes come in this evening.
All right, Zach Sauce live tonight in San Francisco. Zach, we appreciate the update there.
Yep. And one person whose name is still technically on the ballot for governor but has withdrawn from the race, Eric Swalwell.
The East Bay congressman dropped his campaign and resigned from Congress in April after allegations of sexual misconduct. He continues to deny any wrongdoing, and now 9 candidates are vying to fill his seat in Congress.
Let's go to KTVU's Jana Katsudyama live in the East Bay tonight, covering that race. Jana.
Yes, and as you mentioned, Eric Swalwell's name is still on the ballot that people are seeing, but this was basically a very short, truncated campaign for many people who jumped in after he left, and now there are 9 candidates that you mentioned. 6 of them are Democrats, 2 are Republicans, and there is 1 no party preference. We are right outside the Fremont Main Library. This is one of many voting centers here in Alameda County, and you can see that there are are people going both in, and then there's also an official drop box right outside the library front door. So many people have been coming in. It has especially picked up after 5 o'clock as people are coming back from work. Now, one of the things that is significant about today is this is the primary for the top 2 vote getters who will proceed to the November 3rd election. But many of the voters who are here are also getting another ballot. That is because there is a special election to see who will fill this seat through the end of the year. And so many of the voters that we spoke to here said that it is a little bit confusing because they're voting today, but they will also be asked to vote on June 16th for the person who will fill out the remainder of this term. And that is something where most people say that they are going to be voting for the same person, but there are some people who told us, Claudine and Mike, that they might actually keep their minds open. They have seen a lot of flux in the course of this race and say that they are still going to be looking at the candidates despite the initial primary today. Now, one thing I did want to mention that is kind of interesting is just the demographic makeup of this district. This is Fremont here. We see all the way over to Dublin and also up into some of the other areas into Hayward. And this is about 50% Democrat, but there's also a large percentage of people who are no party preference as well. And so this is a diverse area, and it is a situation where we have seen 3 of the top Democrats in this race who are women, and one, Aisha Wahab, who's a state senator. We've also seen Melissa Hernandez, who's a former mayor of Dublin, and then a newcomer, Rocky Singh, who has put in a lot of her own money into this campaign, really trying to kind of turn the dial and put her name in. She has never been elected to office before. So there are 2 other Republicans who are also running, as well as that no party preference, and 5 of those 9 are going to be also on that June 16th ballot. So very interesting here. We are seeing more and more people come in as the evening progresses, and again, the polls still open until 8 o'clock.
All right, yes, lots for District 14 voters to consider as they look for representation for that, certainly for that open seat. All right, Jana, thank you.
All right, for more on the Swalwell fallout, as well as the implications of some other closely watched congressional races here in California, really across the country, let's bring back Brian Sobel, Melissa Michelson. I'll focus, I'll just go ahead on November. You know, with President Trump's falling approval numbers, do you expect a blue wave in the House of Representatives?
Yeah. So political scientists have been studying this for decades, and there's 2 variables that predict what's going to happen in a midterm election.
Okay.
Presidential approval and disposable income. I don't have to tell you, the president's polls are in the dumps, and people don't have a lot of disposable income. So those 2 variables tell us that people are going to be voting against the president the only way they can, which is by voting against Republican candidates for Congress.
Brian, big wave?
I don't know. You know, the history is on the side of the Democrats here. Only 2 times in the modern era has the president in power in the midterms held Congress. Only twice. So that means every other time it changes out. So one would put their money this year on a change out. Donald Trump's a real X factor. He's able to stir up people, but I think at the end of the day, the Democrats do well.
We do have redistricting to think about as well, and how it affects in not only in California and in states across the country, and to see really, we don't even know how it's going to be impacting in several states now as moves to redistrict are still ongoing. How do you think it's going to really impact the midterms overall?
Well, I mean, you have states, Texas picking up seats, California, Dems picking up seats. I think the bigger picture here is that this is not a healthy trend for the United States. And redistricting should be done the way it's always been done, based on census and at an appropriate time. And this getting in the middle of it to try to win seats for your party is not a healthy way for us to proceed. And so there are going to be consequences.
It does seem like it just keeps going, though.
I think redistricting can only do so much, though. When Texas redrew its seats, it was expecting that people would continue to vote the way that they did in 2024. And I think a lot of people who voted for Trump are now reconsidering their support for the Republican Party. So you can redistrict, but that doesn't take account of people changing their preferences, of people who haven't voted before deciding to vote, or people who have voted before deciding to stay home. So yeah, redistricting changes the scene, but Voter turnout can still change the outcomes.
One thing we haven't said in a long time is Nancy Pelosi is not in Congress. That will happen come next year.
Yes.
Brian, what do you think of the race out of the 11th District? Scott Wiener, the state senator, Connie Chan, the supervisor there, Shoykat Chakrabarty. How do you see this playing out tonight?
Well, Scott Wiener has been trying to end up in Washington, D.C. for many, many years. He's been waiting for Nancy Pelosi to make her move so that he can make his move. So he's actually been campaigning for a very long time. Whether Chan, who has been endorsed by Nancy Pelosi, right. We'll learn more about why she didn't endorse Wiener at some point, I suppose. It's going to be really interesting tonight and over the next few days.
She didn't endorse Scott Wiener because he announced for the seat before she said she was retiring. And if I was Nancy Pelosi, that would annoy me, you know, a little bit. Why would I want to support you? You're trying to take my job that I didn't even say was done.
Well, people thought maybe there was a behind-the-scenes agreement, but you think that maybe
he jumped the gun a little bit.
He may have jumped the gun,
but her endorsement means a lot. I think her endorsement is very powerful, absolutely. And I think that might mean that Shoykat Chakrabarty doesn't make the second shot and that it goes to Chan.
All right.
Yeah, I think Wiener is going to do all right. I just think he's been working this for a really, really long time. Whether he jumped the gun or not, there might have been a miscommunication behind the scenes. Everybody knew Nancy Pelosi was going away.
Okay, Brian, Melissa, you're not going anywhere. You're here until 11:30 tonight.
Okay.
All right, still to come for the first time in more than 30 years, San Francisco voters again voting on sending a new face to Congress. We will have a live report from the city by the bay after the break.
Tonight, San Francisco voters are casting their primary ballots for Congress, and for the first time in nearly 4 decades, Nancy Pelosi isn't on this ballot.
The top candidates expected: Shoykat Chakrabarty, Connie Chan, and Scott Wiener. KTVU's Betty Yu live tonight in San Francisco. Betty?
That's right, Mike. I'm at the Yes on D party where supporters have just started to arrive, including SF Supervisor Connie Chan. Of course, the big headline in this race is who will fill Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi's seat in the 11th Congressional District. Now, State Senator Scott Wiener has emerged as a clear frontrunner in the race, but the big question may be who will take that coveted second spot in this race. SF Supervisor Connie Chan and Shoykat Chakrabarty have been polling second, neck and neck, really, in this race. And right now, I'm joined by the supervisor herself, Connie, thank you so much for making time for us this evening.
Good to see you, Betty.
How have you been feeling as we are just minutes away from the polls closing?
We're excited. Of course, we're also anxious, but we work out our anxiety by, dialing voters, knocking on doors, and doing visibilities, and still talking to them. We're going to do this down to the wire.
And we know that Chakrabarty had brought in a lot of tech money into the race. State Senator Scott Wiener had a lot of the support from the establishment. What was your strategy in speaking to voters to make sure that your base turned out today?
Well, we see that it's really about grassroots campaigning, talking to working people. We understand that while there are polls like online and every way, we know that the most important poll is today, and the most effective way to win today is actually just talking to voters one-on-one and directly. And it's the reason why we mobilize like hundreds of our volunteers, and really, of course, we thank our labor partners that really been out there, union members to union members, talking directly, and why that teacher, nurses, and firefighters have endorsed our campaign.
And the speaker gave you her endorsement about 2 weeks ago. What will this next generation of leadership look like to you?
I think that I'm so grateful for that endorsement because with Speaker Madam Nancy Pelosi's endorsement absolutely changing that tide. It's also her way in saying, hey, this is the next phase, as she has said, that election is always about the future. So we're ready to take that torch and run. I think that the next phase is really about health care. How do we build on the foundation of Affordable Health Care Act and say this is a moment that we've got to lower the price of drug medications and medical equipment and so much more. And of course, our education. And there's no doubt about meaningful immigration reform. It's a next step and it's next phase.
You just led me to my next question. You've run on a progressive platform. Day one, what will your priorities look like?
It's reverse the healthcare cuts and got to expand that. People need that. It's one of the most important and also the most burdensome costs of each household. And so healthcare is going to be our priority. Affordable childcare, fully funded K-12 classroom, and free city college. We have it in San Francisco. We got to make sure nationwide. And of course, again, a meaningful investment to pathway to citizenship. I think that is really a future of immigration reform.
All right, Supervisor Connie Chen, thank you so much for taking the time with us this evening.
Thank you, Betty. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, you just heard from Supervisor Connie Chen there. Of course, this is the 11th congressional district we're talking about. Nancy Pelosi has represented San Francisco for decades, so we will see where Democratic politics go next. That is an emerging question and an emerging test in this race. And again, the polls will close in the next couple of minutes, and the top two vote getters will advance to the November election. Guys, back to you in the studio.
A lot of eyes on the city by the Bay tonight. Betty, we appreciate the report. Thank you.
And still to come, we're going to go live to Sacramento with a deeper dive into the implications of all that's on the ballot tonight, plus the big issues that are top of mind for voters.
All right, welcome back. A lot at stake on the ballot with not only the governor's race, but all 52 congressional districts, many of which have dramatically redrawn their boundaries as a result of Proposition 50.
So for more on all that's at stake and what's top of mind for voters, joining us from Sacramento, we've got Ashley Zavala, the host of California Politics 360, which you can see every week on KTVU, on Fox 11, and on KCRA. And Ashley, certainly there's a lot of issues and topics that are motivating people to cast their votes today.
That's right. The Public Policy Institute of California just last week released a poll showing that affordability and the cost of living in this state is by far and away the top issues for voters in this state. That's followed by specifically housing costs and then government in general.
Yeah, it's certainly, I mean, you talk about everything that really motivates people with prices at the pump or trying to get just through their everyday lives. I think even though people have talked about maybe there's not a one candidate in some of these races that are motivating them, they certainly want to hear what these candidates are saying because many people are looking for some change.
That's exactly right. Our current Democratic leaders, a lot of them have been blaming a lot of our current situation when it comes to those gas prices, when it comes to the cost of living, when it comes to inflation, to President Donald Trump. But virtually everyone on the ballot tonight running at least to take up some of these offices in our state, including in this governor's race, have acknowledged that it's the state's policies, it's the state's behavior with spending taxpayer dollars that have potentially led us to this point, and they're all calling for change. I mean, big picture tonight is that Democrats have been in charge in the state for nearly 2 decades. What message do voters send to them? And we see that the party is extremely split at this point. I know you talked about it in your last segment, looking at those congressional districts. I know down in San Francisco, the party is feeling it there, but on the statewide level, I mean, especially when it comes to the governor's race, voters have to pick between at least 8 candidates that are running on this party platform, but in different ways. Do they go with a Javier Becerra, who most of the groups in power who have helped determine our state's leaders at this point have been going for him, as well as Tom Steyer? Do Democrats go for someone else? Do Democrats stay home? Do they not participate as much as Republicans and independents who might be driven to vote for a Steve Hilton or a Chad Bianco, the 2 Republicans that are among the top Democrats? So a lot to watch tonight, a lot of questions going into tonight.
A lot of questions indeed. Polls closing in just 5 minutes. Ashley Zavala, live tonight in Sacramento. Ashley, appreciate it. We'll be right back after the break. Crime and public safety, top of mind for many California voters, especially when it comes to district attorney races.
In Alameda County, incumbent Ursula Jones Dixon trying to hold on to her position, while Pamela Price trying to reclaim it after being ousted as DA in a recall election nearly 2 years ago.
KTVU's Henry Lee live tonight in the city of Oakland covering that very race. Henry?
Well, the key question tonight, guys, is whether the voters want to keep the current DA, Ursula Jones Dixon, whose philosophy is more in line with the law and order type DAs of the past, or if they want to bring back Pamela Price, a progressive, with a much different approach. Now, the current DA began her career here in Alameda County as a prosecutor. Ursula Jones Dixon then became a judge for many years, and then she was appointed the current DA by the County Board of Supervisors after her predecessor, Pamela Price, was recalled by the voters in 2024. Critics called her too soft on crime, but Pamela Price, who was a civil rights attorney, accused Jones Dixon of being way too tough, bringing back draconian gun penalties, special circumstances, and dismissing police misconduct cases that Price had filed. Now, the third candidate is a dark horse. His name is Gopal Krishnan. He's a family law attorney with no prosecutorial experience. It'll be very interesting in the hours and days to come to see what the voters decide. Guys, live in Oakland, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
So, Henry, Pamela Price is recalled, and now she wants her office back. Has she given publicly why she wants to get back into the DA's office here?
Yeah, I did speak to her a couple hours ago at the San Leandro BART station. She was meeting with the voters, and she said, you know what, I think there was a wrong in 2024 that can be righted. And she has couched a lot of her new campaigns saying that, you know what, I'm fighting against President Trump because, his ICE agents are creating and wreaking havoc here in Alameda County. And Price says that the incumbent DA is doing nothing to go against allegedly rogue ICE agents. So that's her philosophy, going against President Trump. But of course, the current DA says, well, my focus is here in Alameda County and finding the criminals, or alleged criminals here.
All right. Well, polls close in less than a minute. We'll see what the voters think. Thank you, Henry.
All right, one more reminder. We are on the air all night long until 11:30 this evening on the Fox local app. We do have reporters stationed across California covering many of the very important races on this June 2nd. And as polls close, again, in just a few seconds here, we'll be checking in with all of them.
Our colleagues at Fox 11 in Los Angeles will take over coverage on the Fox local app in less than a minute here. Be sure to download it. And then Mike and I will be back for the 10 and 11 o'clock news with a deeper dive into Bay Area election results. The Fox local app is also a good one to have in the day. The Fox local app in less than a minute here. Be sure to download it. And then Mike and I will be back for the 10 and 11 o'clock news with a deeper dive into Bay Area election results. The Fox local app is also a good one to have in the day. The Fox local app in less than a
Tonight in California, you decide.
The votes are being counted.
The campaigns are watching.
And the political future of the nation's most populous state is coming into focus.
From the race to lead the world's fourth largest economy,
to congressional battles that could shape Washington,
and legislative contests that will impact millions of Californians.
From Los Angeles
to the Bay Area,
our teams are covering the races that matter most.
Live from campaign headquarters.
Live with candidates.
Live with results.
And live analysis as the biggest stories of the night unfold. This is Election Night Live on Fox Local.
Good evening, everyone. You're watching Election Night Live, the California primary. I'm Marla Tejas.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Christine Devine. The polls just closed across California. It's a critical night for several races, both locally and statewide.
It is a jungle primary, which means from the governor's race to the LA mayoral race, the two candidates with the most votes will advance to the general election in November, regardless of party. There is one important caveat, though, for the LA mayor's race. That is, if a candidate gains more than 50% of the vote, they win outright.
Will that happen? We're live across Los Angeles and California with team coverage on a tense election night.
Fox 11's Andres Gutierrez starts us off from the LA County Registrar as last-minute ballots begin to be counted. The time has come, Andres.
It sure has, Marla, and the first batch of results will be dropping in about 15 minutes. The county officials saying here that this particular year they are tracking to have a higher turnout than the last primary 4 years ago, and that means that many more ballots will be coming through this processing center, the nerve center of this whole operation. At any given time, there are at least 300 employees here, and you could see some of them there in the background processing those ballots. So what exactly are they processing? The county says that this first batch of results will include mail-by-vote ballots that arrived through today's mail, the drop-box ballots that were collected through Monday, and mailed ballots that were dropped off at vote centers through Sunday. Ballots that were cast today at those voting centers still have to be sealed, documented, and transported back to this processing center. And the county does expect to update results about every 35 to 45 minutes overnight. And they do say that more than 100,000 people voted in person today, and the county is also approaching 1 million returned vote by mail ballots. The registrar, Dean Logan, says turnout could land at when it's all said and done, by 34% by certification, which would be above the 2022 governor's primary. But he is warning voters not to mistake speed for accuracy.
In the days ahead, you will likely hear from voices, some big voices, some loud voices, that it's crazy, that maybe it's even stupid that it takes this long for votes to be counted in California. I want to emphasize it's not stupid, it's not crazy, it's actually the law in California. California's laws allow voters the opportunity to vote up until 8 o'clock on election night and to return those ballots in a way that we get them back in a timely manner. And our job is to make sure that every one of those ballots is treated with that same security as the ballots that were received 2 weeks before the election.
And Logan went on to say that about 300 to 400,000 ballots were dropped off today, and those will not be counted tonight. And so some of these very close, razor-thin races may not have final results for days, perhaps even weeks. Marla, Christine?
Yeah, it could be a long time. We'll see. Andres, the polls are closed. We've just said that. If you got into line, though, say at 7:59, are you too late to vote?
Absolutely not. If you were in line, you'll still have a chance to vote. The same goes for those folks who have those ballots at the drop-off box. If there was a long line, perhaps of people in line or cars filing up to go up to that particular drop box, they'll still be able to cast those if they have been in there by that cutoff time.
Election security can be a big question, so tell us what officials are doing behind the scenes to protect everyone's ballot.
Yeah, Christine, this whole process is about transparency. They went in depth talking about that today. The sheriff's office very visible here around this particular facility in the city of Industry. You could see them outside. And then around 10:30, some of those ballots that are coming across from places like Catalina Island, those will be choppered in. And so that will be quite the sight to see later this evening. And ballots from the different polling sites will also be escorted by sheriff deputies to this particular facility. The county says they have also been doing these practice drills with law enforcement, fire officials to make sure that there were no disruptions leading up to today.
That will be quite the sight, choppered in from 26 miles across the sea at Catalina Island. All right, Andres Gutierrez will be checking in with you throughout our coverage tonight. Thank you. Incumbent L.A. Mayor Karen Bass is battling to fend off a strong challenge from former reality TV star Spencer Pratt.
A new poll shows L.A. City Council member Nithya Raman in third place. It's all close. Fox 11's Nick Garcia is covering the Los Angeles mayor's race. Nick?
Hey there, Christine, Marla. Yes, the party has started and the public has been allowed in. Mayor Bass not here quite yet. Now, those polls have closed, as you mentioned, as we see people filing in here. We expect at least a couple hundred people here. Mayor Bass's team feeling quite confident, though, and to talk about that, we're going to speak with Stuart Waldman of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. So how are you feeling? Polls just closed.
Feel really excited, feel confident. I think the voters
voters know what she's done. Crime is low. She's moved the needle on homelessness. As a representative of the business community, she's been there for us, helping business, trying to do the right thing. She was the best candidate, and when you look at the field, we're excited and we feel pretty good about it.
We've seen so much of the talk be her really reaching out to business owners. One of the issues a lot of business owners are dealing with is burglaries, break-ins, specifically in the Valley. How do you feel about her messaging on that?
Well, I think she's worked with LAPD and to get out there and to police the businesses, to help get the homeless off the street. Most of the crime that businesses are facing are from homeless who are congregating around their businesses, trying to break in to find something of value in the evening. So just having a patrol car come around really makes a difference. And she has made public safety one of her top priorities, and we appreciate that.
Stuart, definitely, all eyes, not just in the city and the state, really in the country on this race, particularly because of the entrance of Spencer Pratt. Are you expecting the two of them, the mayor and Spencer, to be heading to a runoff?
I think it's likely. It seems that Spencer Pratt has a little momentum. It seems that Nithya Rahman has not really taken hold. Spencer's an interesting character. I used to watch him on reality TV. I think there's a lot there that hasn't been put out, and so if he's in the runoff, I think it'll be an easy win for the mayor.
Have you spoken with the mayor at all today?
I haven't spoken to her in a couple days, but she's feeling good.
Last you spoke with her, she was feeling confident.
Yes, yeah. It's she's done a good job. And when you look at the everything that's come our way from the administration in D.C. to tariffs to ICE to everything, she's really stood up to the challenge.
All right, Stuart, thank you for speaking with us about that. And really, the campaign saying that as well. The mayor leaning into, as Stuart just mentioned there, some of the federal pushback, how she's handled the ICE raids. She's definitely viewing that as a favorable on her side, and then pointing to those specific numbers on homelessness, on crime coming down. So she's hoping voters will give her 4 more years. Live in Koreatown, I'm Nick Garcia. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Nick, so the gentleman you just spoke to there talked about a possible runoff with Spencer Pratt. Anyone you talk to talk about a runoff with Nithya Rahman. She's been gaining in the polls.
I haven't heard anybody too concerned about that being the runoff. Certainly, they're hoping that the mayor could somehow pull off the election tonight, but I think that they know that that is not likely. It will probably be a runoff, and they're expecting it's going to be Spencer Pratt.
Yeah, Spencer Pratt himself says that he's going to win outright. He's very confident about that. We will see. That's a tall order in any scenario, really. Nick, do we know when the mayor is expected to arrive?
No, we don't know yet. We've been waiting for the mayor to arrive. As I said, the public was really just let in the past couple of minutes. So you see people still filing in here. I would imagine there's a bit of a line forming outside. We are expecting a couple hundred people. That's really all that could be held here. But as of right now, no word on when the mayor will arrive or when she might address the crowd here.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. And we just saw City Council member Monica Rodriguez there in support of Bass at her election watch party there. Nick, thanks so much. Let's give you a live look at the election headquarters, the watch party where Spencer Pratt is tonight. This is in West Los Angeles at Don Antonio's Mexican restaurant. The press are not allowed inside, so there's the privacy drape up. They are all lined up outside. He arrived not that long ago. This is where he announced his campaign a few months back, and this is where he is going to watch those election results pour in tonight. We have our Matthew Seedorf there. We'll be checking in with Matthew momentarily.
San Antonio, as we know it well here on the west side.
And it's a good spot.
Right?
Yep.
Right. All right, we have also heard today from Nithya Rahman. She's the council member who decided kind of at the last minute to run for mayor against somebody she had supported, Karen Bass. Let's hear from her. We are going to actually step away from this party here and go to our chopper Right here we have a live look at Van Nuys Middle School. The polls just closed minutes ago. A lot of people, though, are waiting in some lines at some places, we are told, which, as we mentioned with Andres Gutierrez, means they can still vote if they were in that line before 8 o'clock.
And we are expecting those first results to come out about 8:15, so we're still about 4-5 minutes out. Joining us now for election analysis, we have Shea Crowder, political science professor at LMU. I got it right.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Shea. And independent political strategist Luis Alvarado. Thank you both for being here and spending the evening with us. We're on till 11, by the way. Looking forward to getting some of those results in. Let's start with the mayor's race, since we were talking about that most recently. I'm struck by the fact that the top three, you have Pratt, you have Rahman, they are on opposite sides of the political spectrum. So what does that say to you about the voter electorate as a whole? I'll start with you, Luis.
Well, certainly Los Angeles is one of the most diverse cities in the nation, and diverse not only in ideological but also culturally. And you know, we have Karen Bass, who came in as a progressive Democrat and came in with a hard order to help bring Los Angeles out of the problems they had. And then you had the fire. And she did a pretty good job, but not good enough for Los Angeles. So you have people who are not happy with her. And, you know, when you talk about Nithya Raman, you know, she jumped in when everybody was waiting for the other gentleman who ran against Bass last time.
Rick Caruso.
To announce he was going to run for governor or for mayor, and he decided to run for neither. And that's when she said, there's an opening, she's damaged, I need to step in, otherwise somebody else who's not progressive may come in and take that race from her.
I believe she said nobody was stepping in to be another voice and to tackle some of these issues, if I'm right. Your thoughts on what we're seeing tonight?
Yeah, I think, you know, people are clearly looking for something different, right? Across the board, you know, even at the national level, we've seen a sort of resistance towards establishment candidates. And people are looking for, you know, populism. People are looking for new forms of accountability, and people don't want to necessarily go with the status quo. At the same time, at the current moment nationally, we've seen what it looks like when you elect someone who does not have a proven track record. And so I think that Bass is going to be able to gain a lot of support and traction because at the end of the day, you know, she served in the House of Representatives, she served in the California state legislature, and I think people are becoming, in this political moment, increasingly resistant to having someone come in who's not tested.
Well, we just got that sound from Nithya Raman, so let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
We ran one of the shortest mayoral campaigns ever, I think, or certainly in recent history, and that was only possible because of all of their support. And so tonight, after we've worked so hard, it's really about just coming together and feeling an immense amount of gratitude for everyone. When I first started, I didn't know what to expect. I declared my intention to run on the very last possible day, and only because I felt like the city needed someone to fight for it, and so many other people came to join us to fight for a better future for Los Angeles. And really, like, I am just overwhelmed with gratitude for all of them, because without them, none of this would have been possible. We've had support and volunteers and people knocking on doors throughout the entire city. I've had events everywhere from San Pedro to the Valley. So I'm hopeful that we can get votes everywhere. I know I have a message that resonates very strongly with younger families who are feeling the pinch of high housing costs here in LA. That's the message that we've been putting out there. And for renters and for people who are getting priced out of the city, the message and the policies that we've been sharing have felt very resonant for them. So I think it's less about part of the city and more about, you know, where you are in life and whether this city feels like a place of opportunity to you anymore. And my message is that it can be, but we have to fight for the policies that will make it into a place of opportunity again.
So, Shea, we saw her gain some traction in some of the more recent polls and recent days. How so and why?
I think that many of people view Rahman as a candidate similar to like a Zoran Mamdani. You know, people are excited and hopeful for new voices, candidates who are focusing on affordability, whether it's, she talked about her influence on families, the cost of daycare, the cost of housing, and making all of these accessible. And I think that explains why she's been able to galvanize support from folks on the left.
And on the other side, on the folks on the right, galvanized behind Pratt, right? And there was a whole lot of viral ads that helped propel him as well from his supporters, not necessarily from his campaign. How do you see this playing out? And do you think he has a shot of winning outright tonight, as he confidently says?
No, I don't think he has a shot. I think it's an incredibly difficult task to accomplish. The other reason why Councilwoman Nithya Raman got to do so well is because there are other progressive city council members in the city council who she was very instrumental in helping them get to the city council. So those members already have a built machine in the city of Los Angeles that transfer over to her when she announced her race.
All right, we're going to talk more with you all throughout the night, so thank you for your perspective at this moment. We're going to have more when we come back from election night. The race is on to replace termed-out Governor Gavin Newsom. You're looking live at the headquarters of frontrunner, one of them, Steve Hilton, Republican.
Now over to Tom Steyer's headquarters. He's also up there in the gubernatorial polling of late. In fact, most recently, he was placing second. And here's a live look from his election watch party. You see what's hard to see, but it does say Tom Steyer there on the big screen. It looks like people are filing in now that the polls have closed. Some results are starting to trickle in ever so slowly, but don't you worry. We will have all of them as soon as we get those numbers. In the meantime, Javier Becerra's headquarters in downtown LA is keeping a close eye on the ballots coming in, of course.
Fox 11's Laura Diaz joining us live with more. Laura?
Yes, Christina, Marla, we are in downtown Los Angeles, and I can tell you right now that a short time ago they let out a cheer when those early returns came in, and folks were really excited to talk about what they saw on the screen. It was very encouraging. Now, we know, oh, there we go, Michael Bustamante, you were standing here when people let out a cheer, those early returns coming in and showing candidate Becerra making a good showing.
It's a very good showing. It's very encouraging, and the night's still young, but I mean, 24%, that's really good.
Describe for us the mood here tonight, because I look around the room, I see people of all ages, all backgrounds. It's got a definite fiesta vibe to it. How would you describe it?
You know what? I mean, every time we've done events all across California, whether it's in Northern California, Southern California, Fresno, the coastal region, this is the same, where, there's a level of excitement. People are really excited to vote for him, now to celebrate, what we hope will be a win.
Now, we know, of course, that he's here in the building. Mr. Becerra has already arrived here, and we're at a plaza that is very famous here in Southern California. A lot of Latino events are held here. I'm assuming you chose this place for a specific reason.
Well, it's a very important place for the community, right? Los Angeles, it's essentially the birthplace of Los Angeles here at Plaza. And yeah, I mean, it was one of those places where if we're going to do an event, couldn't be a better place than this.
And just talk about, obviously, Mr. Becerra is Latino. His parents were working class people. He attended the finest universities in this country, the first in his family to go to college. How do you see this as a Latino moment?
So, step back, his parents came here to the United States with $12 in their pocket. They were holding on to the American dream. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they've achieved. And in the end, they provided a pathway for Javier Becerra and his siblings to be able to succeed. Now, as a dad, Javier Becerra and his wife have done the same for their 3 daughters, right? So he went to Stanford. He went to Stanford Law. His daughters have all gone to college and professional work. That's what he wants for everybody else, right? That American dream is something that should not be unique. It's something that should actually be, available to everyone. And as, if he's fortunate enough to be governor, that's exactly what he'll do.
What are the pivotal moments through the night that you'll be looking at? Because I know every campaign, they have an idea in their head about when they need to turn a corner. What are your sort of watershed moments you're going to be looking at?
Look, we came in as the front runner, clearly with the first numbers, maintain that same position. So, as we go through the night, we'll just keep a very close eye on the numbers as they come in and make the assessments as we go forward.
All right, and it was a crowded field, 62.
62 or 64?
I don't know. It was in the 60s. I'm telling you, you needed like a 7th inning stretch just to get through the ballot.
Yeah, no, I mean, in my ballot, for instance, I think he was on the 3rd page. So it needed to be intentional. You needed to find him, and which I did.
All right, Michael, thank you so much. Absolutely. We'll be checking back with you throughout the evening. All right. So there are some churros over there, I'm told, Mexican sweetbreads. We're going to be checking out the festivities here all night. I'm Laura Diaz reporting live from downtown LA, sending it back to the studio.
Checking back with you. Our live team coverage, meanwhile, of election night continues in Northern California.
For a closer look at the governor's race, we turn now to Greg Lee from our sister station in San Francisco. He's live with an update there. Greg?
Yeah, Marla, Christine, good evening to you. I would tell you, after looking at these early numbers, this is sort of what we expected, right? Ballots are counted as they are received. We know Republicans in this state early on outpaced Democrats in the way that they were voting, which is early and often, because as we looked at that list of 61 gubernatorial candidates, Republicans really had 2 choices, Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton. So Hilton leading this pack, that is what we would expect. And we've been tempering our viewers all night to say expect shifts in how these votes are handled and how this count looks as the days and potentially the weeks go on as California's registrars look to count these votes. What we do know is that a lot of Democrats, particularly in L.A. County, even up here in the Bay Area, held on to their ballots because with so many Democrats in this race, they were waiting to see how this race would shape up. And so we know in L.A. County, 30% were returned yesterday. Certainly in the Bay Area, a lot of folks were in line anecdotally to turn in their ballots. So certainly it's going to take time to count those votes. But especially with so many Democrats holding on to them, we could certainly see these numbers change quite a bit as time goes.
Greg, what are we seeing in terms of some early returns? Have those come in yet?
Yeah, Marla, on those early votes, we know Steve Hilton is leading the pack at 28%, Javier Becerra 24%, and Tom Steyer 18%. Those three are the ones that we expected to kind of be leading this, right? That is what we saw in the last two polls that we saw leading up to tonight, and that is what the early numbers are showing. I would anticipate as more of these mail-in ballots are counted, 23 million that were sent out, about 20% had been returned as of tonight. We expect that number to rise to about the mid-30s. Or 35, 38, 39% as this time goes. But those are likely to steer more Democrat. And the question is, how did people vote? We heard from a lot of voters sort of anecdotally that they weren't necessarily voting for their favorite candidate. They were looking at issues of viability. Who did they think were going to move on to the top two? Democrats wanted to see if they could lock out a Steve Hilton. Republicans certainly wanted to make sure a Republican made it to November's general election. So that was sort of in the back of voters' minds as they were making this decision on a very long ballot.
Greg, you've been covering elections for us this whole season long. You are in San Francisco. Obviously, if you're governor of California, it's a big state to govern 40 million people. Wondering if you can gauge perspective on the governor's race from where you are in San Francisco.
Yeah, I think voters here felt the same way that a lot of voters felt across the state, is that this race changed a lot in just a matter of months. If you look back to polling in March, Javier Becerra was at 5%, the party that Laura was at, and now he's leading this thing. Eric Swalwell's departure on April 12th completely transformed this race. It was a sleepy race, candidly, when Fox 11 and KTVU held our debate in February. And then after that Eric Swalwell bombshell, we saw things change. We saw people pay attention, and we saw a lot of momentum in these last couple of weeks as people started to wake up and decide they needed to have their say in this election. So really, it has been changing at breakneck speed over the last couple of weeks and the last month.
We're going to be here until 11 o'clock tonight. We'll be on all night if we really needed to. The question, though, is, Greg, when do we expect to actually have a clear idea of who is moving on to November?
Yeah, and that is the million-dollar question. California has long been panned by Republicans, by the President Donald Trump, about how slow our voting process is. Certainly you have to verify signatures and you have to go through the processes to make these decisions. We're hearing from the Secretary of State that certainly it'll at least take days, if not weeks. And that is complicated by the fact that so many ballots were turned in yesterday and today, and particularly if it is close, especially for that second position. It looks like Javier Becerra will be the top finisher here, at least how the numbers are showing it based on polling. But that if that second position is close, then certainly it could take some time to verify every single vote, guys.
Good perspective. All right, thanks so much. We'll check back with you. In the meantime, reminder, the polls did close about 30 minutes ago, 8 o'clock tonight. We're waiting for more results to come in. Here is a look right now at what you have in the mayor's race, with 30% of the votes coming in right now. Mayor Karen Bass on top, Spencer Pratt 10% below her. We talked about Republicans voting earlier, so these numbers are interesting to see here. And Nithya Raman right there with 20%. Again, as you heard Greg Lee just talk about there, it could be a long night, a long few days. He said maybe even weeks before we actually know who is ahead in these races.
Stay with Fox 11. Our election night coverage continues right after the break. All right, we have a live look at Matt Mahan, the mayor of San Jose, gubernatorial candidate, speaking right now on election night. Let's go ahead and listen in.
I've shaken hands with thousands of people over these 4 short months. I've shared our successes and lessons learned, shared what's possible when you do things differently. Everywhere I've gone in this campaign, we've proven that a better California is possible because we're doing it right here in San Jose. We didn't do it by promising the moon. We did it by promising progress and proving that we could actually achieve it. Because the truth is, people don't care about big promises. They've heard them all before. And by not achieving them, our leaders have proven their words mean little. People have lost trust. And when people lose trust, that's when things really get bad. That's what we're seeing in our country right now. More and more people are either tuning out or turning toward extreme views at both ends of the political spectrum. The answer is making our government deliver. Rebuilding trust by showing that the problems we see every day are actually solvable. Not just here in San Jose, not just in California, but across this nation. We have the right values. We love our neighbors. We believe in freedom, opportunity, and justice for all. We stand up for the First Amendment and our democratic institutions. We believe in fair wages and tackling climate change, and we know the value of embracing difference and diversity. But we need to show.
All right, we've been listening in to Matt Mahan. We're going to give you the LA County Sheriff results. You can look at those while I just tell you quickly about the gubernatorial race. He was pulling that currently early results in with 12.5% precincts reporting, according to the Secretary of State in California. He has 4.5% of the vote. Javier Becerra, 26.6%. Steve Hilton with 26.1%. Tom Steyer with 20.1%. Now on to the race for LA County Sheriff.
Yeah, let's look at those numbers here. Why this matters for people who may not be watching or living in LA County, for example. We have the incumbent Robert Luna with 47%, but below him is Alex Villanueva, the prior sheriff, trying to get his job back. So that's what's really interesting about this race and these numbers. The incumbent, though, is polling way ahead right here with these early numbers.
All right, live look at the City of Industry and the nervous system, if you will, where all those ballots are being counted on this election night as our election coverage continues right after the break. Welcome back to Election Night Live, the California primary, looking live at the headquarters for Mayor Karen Bass, hoping to keep her seat. Not clear if she has arrived at her campaign or election headquarters on this election night. This is in Koreatown.
Take you now to Spencer Pratt's headquarters as well. This is in West LA. And there we have a popular figure there in the red coat and black hat there. When it comes to Hollywood, we are looking at two people talking right now. I'm sure there's much more of a festive party in the background there. We're going to check back later.
And right now, let's get you a look at some of those numbers that are coming in the LA mayoral's race as the polls closed 40 minutes ago. Here's a look with 45% precincts reporting Bass with the lead of 37%, Pratt 30%, Rahman staying steady with 20%, and Adam Miller 4%. So Bass with a lead outright. However, Pratt has been picking up as more and more reporting has come into play. In the governor's race, we now have gubernatorial candidate Antonio Villaraigosa. He has conceded in that race. Of course, the former mayor of L.A., he issued a statement. It reads in part, tonight didn't turn out the way we hoped, he says. He calls it an inflection point on issues including housing, affordability, and the cost of living, and pledged to remain engaged, saying, quote, I'm not stepping aside from the cause, only from this race.
We do have some election results, some races that have been called, but really races that are really no surprise. Shirley Weber wins Secretary of State. She is the Democrat incumbent. She was challenged by a Republican and Orange County Supervisor Don Wagner, this being more of a Democratic state. Not a big surprise there. Also, Malia Cohen for State Controller. That race has been called.
And for Attorney General, the Associated Press has now just officially called that race. Rob Bonta, incumbent, will remain the Attorney General of California. Michael Gates out of Huntington Beach was the Republican challenger. Bonta holding on to his seat tonight.
So basically, no surprises here so far with these results on those races.
All right, a hot race being followed closely in Northern California tonight. Who will replace Nancy Pelosi in California's 11th congressional district?
State Senator Scott Wiener has been in the lead in recent polling.
Let's go live to San Francisco and Betty Yu from our sister station, KTVU. She's at the Wiener election party tonight. Betty?
Yeah, I can tell you the mood here is already very celebratory. We're waiting for that first batch of results to drop, but I can tell you State Senators Scott Wiener's supporters and volunteers tell me they're feeling very, very optimistic at this point in the night. I'm joined live right now by State Senator Scott Wiener. How are you feeling at this point?
I feel great. A little bit tired, but very energized. We've gotten such great response from the voters. People really want change. They want us to address the real problems that people face with affordability, more housing, a more universal health care system, universal access to child care, paid family leave, all the things that make people's lives better. And, of course, sticking up for the rule of law and democracy.
A lot of San Franciscans have said that affordability, the cost of living, homelessness, those are some of their top priorities. What do you think about your platform resonated with these voters?
Well, I've been working for years particularly on just changing completely how we approach housing so that we can build enough housing, and then also forcing insurance companies to cover more kinds of treatment and capping costs for people. So this is the work we've been doing for a long time, expanding paid parental leave, for example, expanding child care access. And we need to go big on those issues, because when we look at how Donald Trump came to power, how this disaster happened, part of it is that people lost confidence that government was addressing their problems, and people's lives were getting more expensive and just more difficult with more pressure on people, and that causes people to take risks, and that's how Donald Trump came into power, one of the reasons. And we need to make sure that once we take power back, which we will do, that we act boldly and quickly to reduce people's cost of living.
We know Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi has long held this seat. If you win, how will you build on her legacy, but also bring your own vision to it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Nancy Pelosi has been a hero on health care, and I want to build on her work. I want to move towards Medicare for all, but until we get there, we have to strengthen the system that we have. Nancy Pelosi did that work. I will build on that work. I also am very focused on housing. Housing is a national problem, and we have not had a national federal housing policy in this country in over 40 years. We have to bring that back and really move mountains on housing. And of course, we need to protect our democracy and stick up for our immigrant neighbors and for LGBTQ people and women's reproductive freedom. All the things that Nancy Pelosi did fight for and that we need to continue to fight for and go very hard to protect people's basic rights.
You are the heavy favorite in this race. If you advance to November, what will that runoff look like? Of course, right now, Supervisor Connie Chan and Choikat Chakrabarty are neck and neck in the polls for second, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, this race is going to be about who. It's not good enough just to talk about issues. It's going to be about who can actually deliver. And I'm the only candidate in the race with a proven track record of being able to build the coalitions needed to turn bold progressive ideas into bold progressive laws. I'm the only one who's done that, and that's fundamentally what differentiates me from the other candidates.
I think this race is also about a broader conversation about the direction of the Democratic Party, and some polling has suggested that Democrats want the party to move more toward the center. How do you reflect on that?
Well, what I hear from voters is that whether it's not about moving to the left or moving to the center, it's about delivering results and being focused like a laser on delivering results on issues that tangibly make people's lives better. Things like child care, paid family leave, housing, lower energy costs by having so much more clean energy. These are the tangible things we can do to make people's lives better. So it's not about more left or less left. It's about delivering solutions to make people's lives better and more affordable.
Hey, Senator Scott Wiener, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
So again, we are live at the election night party for State Senator Scott Wiener. A lot of people in this room right now. It's very festive, very celebratory, but of course we're still waiting for those initial results to roll in. For now, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Betty, thank you so much. We're going to talk more about some of the big issues here. Rising costs and soaring inflation are top of mind for California voters.
California Politics 360's Ashley Zavala joins us now live in Sacramento with a deeper look on election night. We're seeing some of those early results come in for the governor's race. Right now, Becerra and Hilton are out front there. Ashley, any surprised reaction from you there?
Exactly what the two highest quality polls that recently came out showed, from the Public Policy Institute of California. Yes, they have and Steve Hilton again moving on and advancing to the November general election.
We're having a little bit of issue with your mic, Ashley, so we're going to get that worked out, and hopefully we can have you back here in our coverage. So let's get you caught up on some of those numbers. So early results are that, do we have that? Look, good. Steve Hilton and Javier Becerra, 26% with 13% reporting in so far. So they are tied neck and neck. Tom Steyer, 20%. Chad Bianco with 12% right now.
We're reminded as we look at these numbers, though, Republicans were thought to be voting earlier on in this whole election process. So the fact that you see Steve Hilton there as a Republican ahead in this figure right here may speak more to the people who voted early and the votes that have been counted early. These are 13% of the precincts reporting here. These numbers are very likely to shift and change throughout the night and the days. All right, be right back. race we are watching closely here in LA County is the race for LA County Sheriff. We have several contenders there, including many from within the department. We've had them here at Fox 11 to be interviewed for this race. They're trying to unseat the incumbent Robert Luna. The big name to note, though, is Alex Villanueva, who was the prior sheriff, who was beaten by Luna, trying to get his job back.
And in fact, one of those candidates, Villanueva, he is hosting an election night watch party, and that's where we send things over to Ed Laskos, live there in Commerce with more. What are we hearing from Alex himself?
Well, you're right about that, Marla. Alex just took the stand here, about 5 minutes ago, standing ovation. And he's been telling all of his supporters that this evening so far has been going exactly as he wanted it to go, a runoff, thinking it's going to be decided in November. You could hear the crowd. He just said, Alex Villanueva, hard to hear from back here, but he just said we are going to take the fight to November, to the incumbent, talking about Sheriff Robert Luna, the man who defeated Alex Villanueva 4 years ago. And Alex saying he's listening to all of those results that are coming back in. And one other point that he said that got a standing ovation, he said on this night that it's not about Democrats or Republicans, it's about law enforcement, it's about public safety, and he says that's what he stands for, and he's hoping that will surge him in the vote. And there he goes. He'll be shaking hands here in the crowd as he was out voting, trying to really defeat the man who defeated him 4 years ago, the incumbent Sheriff Robert Luna. And interesting when you look at Alex Villanueva, and you know the backstory of his 4 years from 2018 to 2022, 4 years marked as a bit of a lightning rod, always fighting with the Board of Supervisors. Villanueva Long saying it's not about politics, it's about law enforcement. Of course, you have the politicians, the supervisors, they control that $1 billion a year budget for that massive sheriff's department. You know, it's the biggest sheriff's department in all the country. And so that's what a lot of people here say, that you need Alex Villanueva back again. All of his supporters, many of them are actually members of the department, members of the sheriff's department, as all of this plays out. So at least at this evening here in Commerce, as this event wraps up, you're talking about it looking more, as Alex said, really moving toward that runoff in November. As far as the incumbent, the Sheriff Robert Luna, spending a quiet night. We were told he was going to be spending the evening with his family, watching all the results on TV, not having a public event like this. No doubt also getting ready for the stage that's set come November, when these two familiar names, Villanueva and Robert Luna, face each other again for the top spot, the top cop, the top law enforcer in all of LA County, ladies.
You are right there, Ed. With that gap in the numbers, it looked like Robert Luna is so far out in the head that he could take this. But if you don't get 50% plus, then it does go to a runoff. So we'll continue to really watch those numbers. Thanks so much.
Yes.
And our election night coverage will continue right after the break. Stay with us. Here is a look at the LA mayor's race as results are coming in. Mayor Bass with 37%, Spencer Pratt with 30%. Our coverage continues at 9 o'clock. Stay with us. Good evening, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. You're watching Election Night Live, California primary. I'm Marla Diaz.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Devine.
Let's kick off the hour with a look at the latest numbers in the LA mayor's race. There you go, with 46% of precincts reporting Karen Bass, with 37%, Spencer Pratt with 30%, Nithya Raman 20%, and Adam Miller coming in right now with 4%. Our live team coverage continues with Fox 11's Christy Fajardo, who is with the Raman campaign tonight. She's live in downtown LA as we are all looking forward to hearing from her. It sounds like she's there and people are excited by what the results they're seeing.
She is here at Boomtown Brewery, but right now some campaign staffers are actually thanking volunteers because it has been a very grueling, as you can imagine, past few days. And, you know, going into this campaign, Nithya Raman was facing some very difficult headwinds. She's a Democratic Socialist. She also did not have the name recognition of her competitors, Mayor Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt. She also didn't have their financing, but her campaign says what they did have was weaponized people who knock knocked on hundreds of thousands of doors, and they tell us despite those numbers, they are feeling pretty good right now. But I want to show you her arriving earlier this night, just right after the polls closed. The city councilwoman started the morning, though, voting alongside her family in her district in Silver Lake. She spent the rest of the day campaigning, making phone calls, and urging voters to make sure they went to the polls today. Her father was also canvassing and told us earlier how excited he is and how good he feels about this election. Rahman herself says she wants to enjoy what's left of the night and tells us she's given her run everything she has. She had less time to campaign than her competitors, declaring her run right before the deadline to file. She had previously endorsed Bass, but now hopes to face off with her in November. Here's what she told us when she arrived.
I think really what happens tonight is anybody's guess, and it all depends on the voters, but this is now my third election in the city of Los Angeles. And every single time I've always told myself the voters know what this city needs for them. And so I trust that they'll pick the right candidates to fight for the city's future.
And while we were in video, we actually heard a campaign staffer announcing that she will be addressing this crowd later on tonight. Right now, though, they just want people to let loose and have a little fun. And Rahman herself tells us she is not expecting to know the final results or the outcome tonight, so she too plans on relaxing. Live in downtown LA, I'm Christopher Hartle. Send it back to you.
Christy, the numbers show her in third place right now, which means she would not make it to the runoff if these numbers were to stand. How concerned are the people there about the numbers we're seeing at this hour?
They're not overly concerned. They tell us that they did a lot of canvassing in the last couple of days trying to get people to the polls, so they feel that they're going to have some strength in the votes that were cast in person, and of course much of what you're reading and seeing are mail-in votes.
Christy Fajardo live for us there in downtown Los Angeles. Thank you, Christy.
We are going to check some numbers. Thanks, Christy, right here. So here you have 46% of the precincts reporting. These are your front two when it comes to the mayor's race here in Los Angeles. Incumbent Mayor Karen Bass, challenged by Spencer Pratt there with that second place slot at this hour with these numbers. Overall, here's what you're looking at there. Nithya Rahman at 20%. And Adam Miller, they're trailing at 4%. Again, the night is young. The numbers are early. We're still watching this.
In the meantime, incumbent Bass has arrived at her election headquarters for tonight. Let's get out to Nick Garcia. We understand that she may be speaking in the next minute or so, Nick.
Yes, we do know that she has arrived. I'm trying to get an update for us as quickly as possible. You see Council member Monica Rodriguez speaking to the crowd now. The room has really filled up. It definitely has felt like a party. The crowd here very fired up and excited about what may happen tonight, even if it leads to a runoff. They're hoping that the numbers will really show some favorability for the mayor here. So we've been listening to speakers take the stage, union members, different community members, even celebrities. Funny women Kim Whitley and Yvette Nicole Brown took the stage maybe 20, 30 minutes ago. So that's really what we've been seeing here. And as I said, we're waiting for the mayor to make her way to the stage any moment now. I do not have eyes on her at this time, but I've been keeping a close eye on that door to see when she might be popping on. Let me just see. Do we have an update on when the mayor might be coming? 2 to 5 minutes. 2 to 5 minutes, straight from the source. We've got that right there. So maybe 2 to 5 minutes, the mayor will be here and is expected to address the crowd.
Yeah, well, Nick, since you're out there in the crowd, not sure if you've seen the numbers. You've heard her reporting, though. She's right now leading 37%. Bass, Pratt, not all that far behind with 30%, 46% of the precincts reporting. Let me just ask live on the air, are we going to stick with Nick and see if, in fact, we're going to move on? As soon as Bass takes the stage, Nick, we will come back to you to hear from the incumbent as we're looking there on the stage, and still Monica Rodriguez with the microphone, as well as other council members behind her for their support. Marquise Harris Dawson.
It feels electric there as you watch this crowd and you feel the energy right there. All right, we'll check back.
Okay, joining us now for election analysis, we have Shea Crowder. She's a political science professor at LMU, an independent political strategist Luis Alvarado. Let's get your take on these early numbers that we're seeing in the LA mayor's race. Are you surprised?
No, actually, that's what I was expecting. Actually, there were some political experts that I respect highly that thought that Pratt might even have a higher number at this point because, like we saw, the majority of the people that voted at the beginning were Republicans in Los Angeles who were going to give him an edge. And a lot of Democrats did not turn their ballots until the last second, just like they said over there at her headquarters. So I expect his numbers to come down, but still 10 points is a lot of ground to come back and take over on Pratt.
I would question this. Might the numbers for Karen Bass be high because of the diehard votes for Karen Bass? They might have voted early on, too, very confident with who they were selecting. Could it equally work that way for Karen Bass, too?
It absolutely could. At the same time, Mayor Bass has incumbency advantage. She has huge name recognition. She's the sitting mayor, and so people are familiar with her. So even folks who are showing up to the polls today are very likely to select who they're most familiar with, especially given the sort of political environment we're in, her strong response to ICE, and also the reality that she has gotten homeless people off the streets of LA.
What do we know about voter turnout thus far?
We were looking at probably a little bit over 40% of turnout. At first people were thinking 35%, and people that I'm listening to might even hit 45%, which is huge for a non-presidential election. And the other thing about Mayor Karen Bass, she's the one who had more money. So she spent a lot more money than the other two candidates did.
When you see these results, what do you caution viewers about when you see them at this hour, 9 o'clock at night?
I would say that they're going to move in the next probably 24 hours. It might even be a little bit of a surprise where it gets a little bit close, a little bit tight, maybe too tight for comfort for some of the candidates. And a lot of people are going to be out there, lighting candles and praying that and they're going to be able to overcome.
Also, this high turnout just really points to how competitive this election is.
Yeah.
We don't normally have this high of turnout for a midterm election, let alone a primary. And so it's very clear that voters want to have their voices heard in this particular election, because you're right, this turnout is unusual.
What is the most surprising in the mayoral's numbers that have presented themselves this early on to you, if anything?
That people were, like we all said it, people were waiting to the last minute. They know how important this was for Los Angeles. This is something that's truly going to affect our lives greatly in the next 5 years. Whoever is in that leadership position is going to make a difference. And there's, we see a lot of businesses that are closing in downtown Los Angeles because the changing economic paradigm here, not just in the city, but the state. And there has to be an answer, and you're going to need someone who's dynamic to be able to understand and work with other agencies and other elected officials. And the other thing is she got endorsed by many other elected officials, unions put a lot of money, a lot of the community people came out, a lot of, we saw Monica Rodriguez. She used to be one of the nemesis for the mayor at one point. And now she is someone who's supporting the mayor, who probably saw the other competition and said, I'll take the devil that I know over the devil that I don't know.
Just reflect more on what you were saying about the turnout, because also with the governor's race, a double reason to turn out to vote this time.
Exactly. I was speaking with one of my colleagues at LMU, and he said, do you remember who ran against Gavin Newsom in the last midterm election? And the truth is, no one does, because that was not a competitive election. He was the incumbent. People knew that he was going to be at the top of the ticket and that he would win. This is such a crowded primary. And until recently, there hasn't been any clear front runner. And so voters feel that their vote matters in this election, and they're turning out.
And what is your take on the numbers that we're seeing in the governor's race right now? Basically, it's neck and neck between Becerra and Hilton.
I think, similar to what we've heard tonight, a lot of what we see reflects those mail-in ballots and the folks who voted early. At the same time, we're not all too surprised that those two are the front runners. And I think that we might continue to see those numbers toggle between the two of them as, more votes are collected.
So back to the mayor's race, I'll reflect on the question that I asked Luis as well. Have you reflect on that? Viewers, as you're watching these numbers right now, 9 p.m., what do you caution them to be wary of or to wait and watch and see?
I think the thing to keep in mind is that we will not have the final tally for several days. At the same time, the numbers that we're seeing right now are pretty indicative of what we can expect. And so I think that, we certainly have some clear indications of what the ballot might look like in November.
But I think back in the early numbers with Bass against Rick Caruso, and Rick Caruso was really, he was out front. He was leading. And the ballots came in after the fact, and then Bass took the lead. And it was a significant shift.
But not as many people came out to vote. I think she didn't have the incumbency that we just talked about, and truly there was no separation. It was either one or two sides. Here we have not only three sides. There were some other people who ran and had a little bit of a pull. Right at the end of the day, there's other people we're not talking about who were not in the top three, who also got to pull some of those votes. And at the end of the day, when you get to the runoff in November, it's only going to be two candidates that are going to be squaring off. And a lot of people position themselves to see what argument is going to work back in November.
And who do those early sort of ballots tend to be? Older people, retired people, more conservative people. And so some of that might also inflate the numbers in one direction.
And they didn't come out to vote at the beginning like they usually do. This is what broke the mold here, is that they held on to their votes. They wanted to make sure their vote counted.
Fair to say, a fascinating election. All right, we'll check back with both of you. Thank you both so much.
All right, let's take a look at the U.S. House of Representatives. This is District 45. It has been called for Derek Tran with 53%. Again, if you get more than 50%, then the race will be called. So 53%, Derek Tran retains. All right, here is Karen Bass.
Wonderful to see so many people. How are we doing tonight? Are we gonna win tonight? I will tell you, it's looking good so far. We got a lot more to go, but so far it's looking good. And I am so glad to be here with everyone on a night. In a couple of hours, we will declare victory. And let me just say, first of all, let me thank everybody standing behind me, because this is my family, my whole family that are here. My two grandsons in my first campaign, they're now taller than me. My nieces and nephews who have grown up over the last few years. Let me just say that we can't do anything without our families. Our families who put up with all that we have to go through when we choose public life. And I just want to take a minute to tell you how much I love you for standing there with me throughout thick and thin, and everybody here for your support. We have led a grassroots campaign because we want to bring change to our city, and that's what we've been doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do. I want to thank the elected officials who have stood with me. I want to thank the leaders of community organizations that have stood with me. My partners in the labor movement. And I think I see the Beyonce of labor, who hasn't been speaking to me for a while for a very good reason, but I am so glad that she is here today. That is Yvonne Wheeler, the head of the County Federation of Labor, because we are a union town, and we are a town that understands that union jobs are the way we deal with affordability. And David Green over there from SEIU 721. And let me just say, we also have leaders of the business community here, because it takes the business community, the labor community, grassroots organizations. We can have the city that we know we all deserve. Los Angeles is where I was born and raised. Los Angeles is the city that I love. Los Angeles is the creative capital of the world, where we dream and we make our dreams come true, where our industry was leaving, but we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back because we understand the good jobs and the business opportunities that come from the creative industry. We're going to build a city where parents and kids do not have to navigate tents because in the nation's second largest city, there should never be anybody that is sleeping on our streets. We are a city that can deal with this, and we have been doing it, and we are going to continue. We are a city where things have been not affordable over these last few years, but we're going to continue building the housing that we know we are needed in this city. 42,000 units are already underway, and in the next 4 years, we're going to finish those 42,000 units because we know that that's the key to affordability. And we are a city that is unified. You just think this Saturday marks 1 year from the dark day in our city when we all had to face the raids by ICE. And they thought that they were going to divide our city. But nobody divides Angelenos, right? Because we stand up for each other. Because I don't care where you're from, when you got here, or why you're here. You are an Angeleno, and we are going to fight for you, and we are going to protect you. We want a city where you can go out and walk at night because the street lights are on. And we got 60,000 of those street lights that are being turned on right now, and sidewalks that are going to be fixed because we're going to fix our infrastructure. Over these last 3.5 years, working with my partners on the city council, and I see several of them here. I think I saw Monica Rodriguez and Isabel Gerardo, our council president. Everybody here, we are going to work together to make sure that this city thrives, that we have business opportunities, that we have work opportunities, and when the world comes in 10 short days, the world will be here for the World Cup, and we're going to show them the magic of Los Angeles. Over these last 3.5 years, we have laid a foundation, and we're going to build on that foundation because we know what a city we have and what a city we can be. And let me just say that tomorrow begins the second half of this journey. Now, you stood with me for the first half. Will you stand with me all the way? Will you stand with me all the way? What happens when we fight? What happens when we fight? Well, let me just tell you, that's what we've been doing over these last few months. We've been fighting because we're not going to let somebody turn back our clock. We are not going to do that. We are going to continue moving our city forward because this is the greatest city in the world. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for believing in me. I appreciate you for standing with me when others doubted me because you know who I am. I have devoted my entire life to serving the city that I love, where I was born, and I'm going to continue to do that all the way to victory in November. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, you've been listening to LA Mayor Karen Bass in her fight to retain her mayoral position in Los Angeles. We're going to send you after break with a look at the latest numbers. More of our election coverage right after the break.
We are back with our political coverage here, looking at the race for Attorney General. This one has been called for Rob Bonta, with 54% of the vote 47% of the precincts reporting, 54% of the vote. He is the incumbent Attorney General.
Taking a look at the latest numbers for California governor, here it is. Steve Hilton with a slim lead with 48% precincts reporting, 26.7%. De Javier Becerra's almost 26%. Tom Steyer, 20%. Chad Bianco with 11%. And let's give you a live look, in fact, at Republican Steve Hilton's election night base. This is a live look in Huntington Beach. We have our Rachel Aragon. She is a reporter on hand. It is quite the crowd. Obviously, they're waiting to hear from Hilton himself. We will certainly check back in with her and get a live report in just a bit.
In the meantime, Tom Steyer is trying to turn his business background, the billionaire and political network, into a path to Sacramento.
He's reaching for the job of California governor with the fourth largest economy in the world. Zach Sauce from our KTVU sister station is live in the Bay Area at Steyer's watch party. He is now polling, as you heard and know, third with 20%. How is that resonating with the crowd there, Zach?
Well, I would say that most of his surrogates are still feeling pretty confident right now, and I will say that we did speak with a spokesperson just a short while ago who really was starting to temper expectations. And here's Tom Steyer right now, so we're just going to step out of the way and let you take a listen.
I want to thank you all for being here. It might take some time to figure out where this is going. We're going to wait till every ballot is counted. We're going to give democracy a time to work, and we know we finished really strong. We're here tonight because our state is in crisis, and so is our nation. California is the richest state in the richest country in the history of the world. It's unacceptable.
All right, we are going to interrupt Tom Steyer there to bring you Nithya Raman. Word is that she is going to be conceding in the race for LA mayor. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Hungry for that vision, and we were right. We were right. Look at all of you. But here's the reality. Here's the reality. That vision threatens some very powerful forces. It does. And they came at us with everything that they had. The corporate landlords, the city hall insiders, the corporations who have spent years making sure City Hall worked for them and not for the people. These powerful interests spent millions of dollars against this little campaign. Spent millions trying to preserve this city's broken and unjust status quo. And we said no. And then came the MAGA machine. They saw an opportunity in Los Angeles to buy a foothold in our beautiful city to advance a dark agenda. They poured money in from all over the country. They brought the right-wing media, the political ecosystem to bear, and attempted to infuse our city with hate, with fear, and with cruelty. But we said no. Not with billionaires or powerful corporations, not with fear and with divisiveness, but with something far more powerful. We fought back with love and with hope. And we fought back with all of you. Thousands of you donated whatever you could and helped us unlock the largest matching funds haul for a primary in LA history. You helped us shape plans and policies for what we can actually build in LA together. And then you knocked on doors in every corner of the city and told voters about those plans. You made phone calls after long days at work. You hosted events in your living rooms and your backyards. You stood outside grocery stores with clipboards. You made your own incredible videos. Absolutely incredible. Did you guys see some of those incredible videos? You talked to your friends, your families, your coworkers. You found 100 different ways to help this little campaign grow and to bring more people into this fight for a better LA. And it was so beautiful. With every dollar, every door knocked, every hour volunteered, you proved that our city and its future are not for sale. And together, we built something extraordinary. And it gives me so much inspiration to be a part of it, a movement powered not by cynicism or political insiders, but by ordinary people who still believe Los Angeles is worth fighting for. Tonight may not give us a final answer on this race. Many thousands of votes will be counted in the days ahead, and we may not get an answer we like, but regardless of what happens next, nobody can take away what all of us have built together. At a time when so many people have written Los Angeles off or have lost hope in the future of this incredible city, you are proof that Angelenos are hungry for change, for a city that works for everyone, a city that dreams bigger, a city that believes in itself again. There are so many people who helped us get to this moment, and I'm sorry you're going to have to bear with me while I thank just a few of them. To our campaign's leadership, to Ian, our incredible campaign manager, to Tessa and Katie. Thank you for what you put together. We built a real viable campaign in record time, and it was only because you all gave it everything you had. To every single member of our campaign staff, Jeff and Courtney, who were there from the beginning, Jamie, Megan, our super volunteers, too many to name, my council office leadership, Michelle, Andrea, Day, Stella, Sarah, Armida. Your passion, your talent, your creativity, and your belief in the city carried us to this moment. I'm going to be forever grateful to every single one of you and so proud to have been in this fight alongside you. And to your families, your partners, your kids, your parents, your roommates, thank you for sharing your loved ones with this campaign over the past few months. This work asks a lot, not just of the people doing it, but everyone around them too. We couldn't have done this without your collective sacrifice, patience, and support. Let's give it up for the families. To every single volunteer, donor, and supporter, thank you for being the backbone of this campaign.
All right, you've been listening to Nithya Raman with live remarks there as the results are continuing to pour in. She is now polling third with 20%. We need to make an important clarification. Went to her noting that she may be conceding. She did not concede by any stretch. She was thanking her supporters and saying that this could be a long night and we may not know for several days, which is very true, who will advance to the November election. So more to come on the LA mayor's race.
Also want to take a look one more time at the Attorney General's race. I actually want to clarify something there as well and talk about the two front runners in this one here will go on to the November general election. I already talked about Rob Bonta, the Democrat, but also we should note the Republican Michael Gates, regardless of party, is the top two that will go on to November, and that's what you have there in that race for Attorney General.
Even the Democrats accept that the state cannot go on like this, with the highest housing costs in the country, the highest gas prices, the highest taxes for the worst results. the highest poverty rate, the highest unemployment rate. We cannot go on like this. Hundreds of thousands of Californians leaving the most amazing place anywhere in the world. Businesses leaving. Something has to change. The Democrat candidates acknowledge that. They just don't have any alternative options. They don't have any change that will take us in the right direction. That's why we have to fight for the very last vote.
All right, the latest numbers for California governor, here they are. Hilton with almost 27%. Javier Becerra right behind it with almost 26%. Tom Steyer, 20%. Chad Bianco with 11%. And our live team coverage of election night continues in Northern California. For a closer look at the governor's race, we turn things over to Greg Lee from our sister station in San Francisco. You're live with an update. Let's get your thoughts on the neck and neck between Becerra and Hilton. No surprise, right?
Yeah, Marla, we're seeing exactly what we thought would happen, particularly in the way that these votes were counted. We know that Republicans, by and large, were outpacing Democrats in the early votes here, and that's what we're seeing in the results, is that Hilton is leading Becerra and Steyer. Across the board from Hilton and from Steyer in the remarks that they've already made tonight, they have made it clear that they want people to be patient, because what we do know is that the later votes that will be counted over the next coming days, a lot of people dropping ballots off today, those will tend to skew for Democrats. So the question is, which direction will those Democrats who are waiting to vote, who will they go to? Will they go to Becerra? Will they go to Steyer? And how will that impact the complexion of what this race looks like and what these results look like? What we're seeing already from the early numbers is what the last-minute polling was showing us, that really this is a race of three people at the top of the ballot between Becerra, Steyer, and Hilton. But I think it is going to be close to determine who of those two is going to move on. But certainly if you're Steve Hilton, cause for celebration, at least early on tonight, to know that Republicans came out in large number early. The question is, can they sustain that kind of momentum, particularly with the registration advantage the Democrats have in the state of California?
Talk about why this race, the California elections in general, even here in Los Angeles, have gotten so much national interest.
Yeah, I think when you have a person like Governor Gavin Newsom that has led this state for the last 8 years, that has been so much on the national stage as he continues to prepare for what is next in his political career, many of us know that is likely to be a run for the White House. There's a lot of attention on this state. Gavin Newsom, the state of California, has clashed with the federal government, with President Trump. And now the question is, who will take the mantle from here? The fourth largest economy. You hear the governor talking about that all day. And certainly who leads this state next will have huge implications. One thing I mentioned tonight on our air is that all of these candidates, whether they're Republican or Democrat, have agreed that our state is facing some major issues. And all of these candidates across the board have talked about how change is needed. And top of that list is about the cost of living, as that has been a #1 issue for voters. So all of these candidates, Hilton, Becerra, Steyer, and the rest, making promises on how they will impact the cost of living for the everyday voter, for the everyday viewer. And so that has certainly caught the attention of a lot of folks across the political spectrum and across the country. And I think it will continue to do so because this race is being so closely watched.
All right, very good. And we appreciate you watching it along with us. Greg Lee from our sister station in the Bay Area at KTVU. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Let's get you caught up in the race for California Secretary of State. You see there the red check marks. That means those will advance to the general election. So Shirley Weber, who is the incumbent, will then face off with Don Wagner from Orange County Supervisor in the November election, with 56 to 40% there. Live look from the City of Industry. This is the Nerve Center. Earlier in our coverage, I called it the nervous system.
Look at the frenzy there at this hour.
Yeah.
They're counting ballots as we speak.
Absolutely. It continues, and our coverage continues right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Election Night Live, California primary. People in Orange County hit the polls tonight after redistricting might shake things up there.
Now, the OC registrars overseeing the counting of ballots. That's where Fox 11's Gina Silva is live in Santa Ana. Gina.
That's right. Early returns are showing about a 21.5% voter turnout. Of course, that number will climb as the night goes on. Now, earlier we spoke with voters as they were heading out, and this is what they had to say.
Anti-Trump. Anything that Trump does is bad. So the candidate has to come out against ICE, against Trump. That's my number one.
I just vote Republican. If I don't understand who they are, I vote Republican for my party. And anybody that Hal Jarvis's Proposition 13 is for, I vote for them too.
Gotcha.
I can't remember how many actual flyers I kept at the house of how much money is being spent on this campaign. And at the same time, it's important. This is why we need to come vote. Because if it wasn't important, they wouldn't be spending millions of dollars to sway us one way or the other.
He's not wrong. One of the most expensive races on the ballot today is the battle for the 40th congressional seat, and it got nasty real fast. Thanks to California's redistricting under Prop 50, Republican reps Young Kim and Ken Calvert were forced into the same district, covering parts of Orange and Riverside counties. Combined, they spent $5 million, and much of it on commercials attacking each other. Calvert called Kim a Trump traitor and a backstabbing rhino. Kim fired back, calling Calvert a Washington sleazebag who's only out for himself. Both claim to be the real MAGA candidate. Of course, for many people, the biggest concerns are voter fraud. So we asked Orange County Register of Voters Bob Page just how common voter fraud really is, and this is what he had to say.
In terms of actual voter fraud, when we hear about it, and if somebody alleges somebody has committed voter fraud, I'm going to immediately refer that to the district attorney for investigation. Since I've been here, there's only been one case that I referred that actually ended up being prosecuted, and that was a Costa Mesa woman who pled guilty to creating a fictitious registration using the name of her dog and casting ballots in 21 and 22. And so we take it seriously. We make sure that it can be prosecuted, and we want people to understand that they're going to get caught if they try it, but it's very rare.
Now, as for that Republican showdown, Calvert is leading Kim by less than a percentage point, 26.7% to 26.1%. Obviously, very close, too close to call. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Gina, you've been there for the better part of the day. What was it like from your perspective? Did you see a steady flow of people? Was there a line out the door? What did that look like?
No, I did not see a line out the door. It's just a trickle, of people coming in, mostly after work. But it seemed like there wasn't a lot of traffic.
All right, Gina, thank you for the update there from Orange County. There are plenty of other races we are watching tonight. Big state offices like lieutenant governor and treasurer. And after Prop 50, incumbent U.S. representatives fighting for re-election in redrawn districts. Fox 11 Susan Hirosuna joining us with some numbers.
Christina Marla, thank you. Lots of eyes on the governor's race. Let's see how the lieutenant governor's race looks at this hour. Here are the top contenders you see there. Fiona Ma, she's ahead with 20.6%. She is perhaps better known as the state treasurer who wants to switch places with the incumbent lieutenant governor, Eleni Kounalakis. Why am I having trouble with that? Apologies. All right. So behind her, Republican Gloria Romero with 19.6%, and Josh Friday follows up with 14%, and Michael Tubbs, the former Stockton mayor, he has 11%. Okay, the race for insurance commissioner got a lot more attention this primary after the 2025 wildfires. Right now, Jane Kim is ahead with 24%. Right behind her, though, Democrat Ben Allen. Looks like those two may be on their way to facing each other during the general. But following him, not too far away, Stacey Korsgaden and Republican Robert Howell. All right, let's move on to the most highly contested congressional. I moved too far ahead. This is the treasurer's race. Democrat Eleni Kounalakis, as I just mentioned, the current lieutenant governor, leading the pack to become the state treasurer. Right behind her, Republican Jennifer Hawks, and then following behind Ana Caballero and David Serpa. All right, now getting the most recent numbers from District 6. You may remember that Kevin Kiley, who is a friend of Fox 11 many times on our air, his district was redrawn. He changed his party affiliation to independent. He's in the lead with 25%. So looks right now that the race has been called with that red check mark. So he will face Richard Pan in the general, but it could very well be that he'll get to go back to Washington. All right. Next up, we have that District 40 race that Gina Silva was talking about. This race had all those nasty ads, and right now, not yet called as yet, but looks like Ken Calvert has more of the percentage point than what Gina mentioned. So at least right now, it looks like Ken Calvert has 35% over Young Kim's 20%, and the Democrats are far behind. Okay, one race that has been called, that is the race for District 45, Derek Tran. So he will go back. He's the incumbent. He will go back to Washington. His seat is safe, rather. And then finally, this is District 26. This is actually the one that I think was supposed to be the Senate seat. Didn't we change this, producer Anaya? We were watching this seat. If this is the state Senate race that we were talking about, this is actually the race that we wanted to follow was not that race. It was the state Senate race. That's only because there was a trans woman that was in the group, Maybe Pudlo, who also goes by Maybe A.Girl. She didn't top crack the top 4. So it looks like it will most likely be Sarah Hernandez versus another Democrat. So I apologize. I didn't quite finish that script.
But that race was highly contested with a lot of big names in that race.
Yeah, a lot of, it was
Juan Camacho.
Wendy Carrillo.
And Wendy Carrillo was
Right.
part of that one, yes.
But it was an interesting twist to have somebody in there and did fairly well for a first time out as a first time candidate.
Yeah, and we interviewed all of the candidates in that particular race. So if you are interested in seeing what they had to say, that you can find that on our Fox Local app as well.
So many other races that we're going to watch, but those are just a few of them that we thought we would take a look at what the current numbers look like, just because, especially after Prop 50, to see whether or not it worked, meaning the intention for this state to keep its Democratic representation.
Which affects Congress nationally.
Exactly.
All right,
so I'll see you guys later.
All right, Susan, thanks so much. And our coverage continues right after the break. Another look at the Nerve Center. I'm going to keep getting that right. The Nerve Center. That's the City of Industry. And where all the ballots are being counted tonight. Stay tuned. After a hard-fought primary election season, the numbers are finally adding up and votes are being tallied.
Fox 11's Andres Gutierrez joining us live from LA County's Ballot Processing Center. We've been showing you the live shot there. This is the City of Industry where they are counting those ballots. Andres.
Yeah, a lot of action happening right behind me, but beyond the camera right now, they are actually taking a little break because it is going to be a long night for these workers. Right now, though, the ones that are inside the count room, they are right now tallying up and throwing those ballots in as the count is underway. That is what's happening in here. Let's take you and walk you through what's happening on the outside. Right now, all across Los Angeles County, poll workers are packing up their ballots, sealing the equipment at those different voting centers, and sending everything back here to the City of Industry. Some of those ballots will arrive within the hour. Others will take longer because, remember, this is a county that stretches all the way from the high desert to the harbor, and every ballot has to make that trip out here. So the first results released tonight only represent a portion of the vote. Election officials expect a flood of ballots to be dropped off that were dropped off today still has to be processed. So that means that some of the closest races may end up very different from a day or two from now. The Registrar of Los Angeles County, Dean Logan, says that this isn't a glitch in the system. It is the system. We don't have the soundbite there, but we're going to keep on going here. So, again, this is going to tell us, again, the first batch of votes here will only give us an indication of who is ahead. But, again, as they come in, it'll take some time to process. They're saying that they're expecting about 300,000 to 400,000 ballots that were cast today. And so that is going to take several hours to get here. Some of them we're anticipating are about to start positioning themselves, will be escorted by sheriff deputies here to the processing center, and then around the 10:30 or so hour, there will be choppers that will be bringing in ballots from as far as Catalina Island. So that will be a sight to see, and hopefully we can bring it to you live here on Channel 11. Back to you guys.
Andres, in other words, this goes on overnight. They don't go home for the night. This is an overnight thing.
It is. And so this is a process. Remember, the county ended up hiring 9,000 extra workers for this particular election cycle. There are about 300 to 400 workers who are in this building. They will be working around the clock. This whole process is about transparency. A couple of years ago, this was not in place. But again, every time that there is an election cycle, right, there is always talk about possible voter fraud. So they have made sure that this building is as secure as possible. A very visible presence from law enforcement, sheriff deputies all around this particular structure. And then there's also, once you're inside, right, all the glass around this building, around the counting room, because they're encouraging people, members of the public, to come in here. They could sign up there at the front desk as an observer, and then they'll be escorted through the whole process. From the moment where the ballots come in, they could see the verification process of how signatures are verified. They're run through a machine. If there is something that doesn't match up with the voter rolls, those will be spit out, and then those will be then flagged by a person and verified in person. Eventually, they will go through the extraction process before they are thrown into the machine and they are officially counted. Certification does not happen until June 26th, and so there is several weeks that they have before the results are official and final out here.
All right, democracy in action right there. Andres, thank you so much.
Our election night coverage continues. Here's a live look at the headquarters for Javier Becerra. More to come. Stay with us.
As we wrap up this 9 o'clock hour, we look at the latest numbers in the race for Los Angeles mayor. 47% of the precincts reporting. Mayor Karen Bass, the incumbent, with 37%. Spencer Pratt at 30%. And Nithya Raman at 21%.
We look at the race for governor now. Steve Hilton with almost 27%. Javier Becerra's almost 26%. This is 49% of the precincts reporting. Our coverage continues at 10 o'clock, so stick with us right here. We'll see you at the